I'd like to call the July 10th, 2017 Old Bridge Town Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for a prayer and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mollis, the prayer, please.
Yes, sir. O Lord, bless thy servants in the ministry of public affairs who serve thee in this chamber. Give them quiet minds and hearts, that they may hear thy voice. Help them to know when to speak, when to be silent. Give them strength to oppose the wrong and uphold the right, and grant that they have a good conscience and soul at peace with thee and with one another. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing. It's customary in this chamber, we always stand for a moment of silence to honor those men and women who are serving to protect our freedoms both home and abroad, our first responders, and those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. Moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please be seated.
This meeting is being held in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to the newspaper, and notice of the meeting has been posted in public places. Next open public meeting of the council will be held on Monday, August 7th, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. Dr. Greenberg?
Yeah, you don't say that.
Present. Green?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mrs. Panos? Oh, she's out. Mr. Rosencrantz?
Here.
Mrs. Sohar? Here. Mrs. Walker? Here. President Cahill?
Here.
7 present.
8 present?
I'm sorry, June, I didn't see you. Mrs. Dungy? 8 present.
8 present, we have a quorum. We'll dive right into the body of the meeting. The first order of business is mayoral appointment, Cultural Arts Committee. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. Just for informational purposes, I'd like to present to the Cultural Arts Committee Kristen Varanzola, whose term will be expiring in 2020, to the very busy Cultural Arts Committee. So we look forward to Kristen's contribution. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't need council consent on that. Moving on to proclamations and certificates. Award of Old Bridge Township Shade Tree Commission Arboriculture Scholarship of $1,000 to Frank Serpi. Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. At this time, I'd like to ask Gary Lavallo, Gina, please come up. Dave, come, our Shade Tree Commission members who had an idea about a year ago about giving a scholarship to one of our high school students who met at certain criteria. Oh, Dan's here. I'm sorry, Dan. And I'm going to turn it over to Shade Tree Commission to explain exactly why we're doing this, what we're doing, and how we're doing it, and then we'll call our recipient up and we'll congratulate him in person. Thank you.
Hi. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to the way the scholarship basically was approached to the children that were eligible to do it. So this award was available to high school students who had a GPA of 3.0 or better. Our recipient had a GPA of 4.8.
Wow.
That young man. He is part of the FBLA, Habitat for Humanity, and is a member of the History Honor Society and an officer of the Italian Honor Society. He enjoys fencing and yoga, and as his college counselor stated, he is an all-around achiever who is personable, inquisitive, perceptive, and tolerant of others. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Carbone. He's the gentleman that really took this to the next level, set up the whole entire spreadsheet for us to give point system out, and what the criteria was for our scholarship. Dave?
Sure, Dave. Thank you.
So the idea came together because we wanted to get the community involved in promoting the Shade Tree Commission, getting it out there, what the Shade Tree Commission does. So we put together this scholarship, and it was for residents of Old Bridge, high school residents. And we put it out there, we publicized it on the TV channel, on Facebook, on Twitter, and we got a number of respondents. And we used an objective system, a point-based system, to review each of the candidates' specific criteria, and then we scored it objectively. And Frank Serp was the winner, and we're very proud that to have him here and present this award to him today.
Yeah, he's very tall.
He's a sprout.
I do want to make mention of what Frank wrote, because I think it's important to know what his thoughts were, that we're going to utilize these ideas that he came up with in our township. So some of his winning ideas was educating our kindergarten all the way up to high school to promote planting a class tree each year with educational presentations, the introduction of nature walks and other outdoor activities for students to explore the town and see the impact for their future decisions that may have on our community. One suggestion that Frank came up with was the involvement of Adopt a Tree, program for families and businesses. This would promote planting of trees on private property and preservation of those already in existence. Public seminars, indoor and outdoor events would further provide fun education experience for our residents. Furthermore, we'll be able to work with those who share our mission to pool together our resources and offer support. These ideas will allow the additional trees to be planted and taken care of, providing increase in beauty, raise in property values, and ultimately an improvement to all over quality of our life. And I think that that's an amazing idea that we're going to actually use. No?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Oh, we need to take a picture. Who's got a camera?
Who's got a camera?
That's good enough, Gary.
You're Mr. Laura.
Gary, I was just going to say, Gary should get in that picture.
Thank you. Stagehand.
Oh, I think Dad wants to take one. Hold on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just check.
Congratulations.
GPA. Wow. I'd be remiss if I didn't publicly thank the Shade Tree Commission for all they do. They meet once a month. They're all volunteer organization. And anyone who's driven around town lately sees the difference since we've adopted our new tree ordinance that the Shade Tree Commission was instrumental in getting before the council and adopted. And I can honestly say, for the first time, really, under our shade tree ordinance, we are saving trees. We are saving trees, Gary, and we thank you for that. We are getting trees replaced in Old Bridge. And we are also, because we are getting rid of dangerous trees that present a danger to our community. So it's just a well-rounded ordinance that works for everybody, and I can see the difference as I drive around Old Bridge, and I thank you for that. Shade Tree, thank you so much. Thank you.
Frank and your family, if you guys want to leave, and the members of the Shade Tree, that's fine. If you guys want to go, we won't be offended. It's okay. Well, I made the offer. Okay, moving on to approval of minutes of previous meetings. Combined meeting, April 3rd, 2017. Have a motion, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I have a second? Second by Mrs. Dungy. Any comments on the combined meeting of April 3rd? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Yes. Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Panos? Oh, I can't. Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes.
Executive session minutes, April 3rd, 2017. Can I have a motion, please? Moved by Mr. Green. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Any comments on the executive session minutes, April 3rd, 2017? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Combined meeting, June 12th, 2017. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Dungy? Thank. Sohar? Thank you. Anybody have any questions about this meeting? Minutes, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Abstain.
Mr. Mollis?
Abstained.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Abstain.
5 yes, 3 abstentions.
Okay. That concludes the previous meeting minutes. Moving on to the bill list. Mr. Rosencrantz.
Thank you, Council President. Bill list for July 10th, this meeting. Accounts payable, July 10th, 2017, $14,359,976.55.
Can I have a motion, please? I'll move it. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Green. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Payroll, June 23rd, 2017, $852,424.26.
Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Thank you. Second by? Second, Mr. Green. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Payroll overtime, June 23rd, 2017, $44,820.02.
Motion, please.
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I have a second, please? Second. Second, Mrs. Dungy. Mr. Hachu, could you, Mr. Manchushak, can you do the breakout, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. As Mr. Rosencrantz indicated, the total overtime was $44,820.02. Outside of police department, there are, the only other department that I want to report to the council is buildings and grounds, which overtime is related to the various activity-related EC project completions that's going on. And in election clerk's office, needed extra help for the June primary election. For the police department, the total overtime for the sworn officer was $34,961.47. When you deduct for the grants of $372.57, and then deduct the ETO of $14,415.52, the net overtime for the sworn officer was $20,173.38, represents 585 hours. We have, believe we have 2 on disability, workers' comp related disability, and 1 is on duty with, in Army duty.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Shaw on the overtime? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Payroll, July 7th, 2017, $915,374.17.
I have a motion, please. Moved by Mr. Green. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Payroll overtime, July 7th, 2017, $41,938.84.
Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Second by Mr. Green. Mr. Shaw, could you do the breakout, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. The total overtime for the July 7 pay period was $41,938.84. The only uptick in outside of the police department was in the buildings and grounds, which is a continuation of the EC project. We had several temporary portable AC unit installed in senior center and recreation center that we need to activate early morning. So that was the major overtime. For the police department, sworn officers overtime was $33,466.27. There was no grant-related deduction. Deduction for ETO was $12,364.03. Net overtime for the police department sworn officers is $21,102.24, which represents 615 hours.
Thank you. Any questions to Mr. Shaw on the overtime? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungey?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrans?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
And that concludes the bill list for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Rosencrantz. Moving on to public hearings and ordinances for second reading. H1, block party request, Rittner Lane, Stevens Avenue. We need council approval as one resident would not sign and agree to the block party, only one signature missing. Before I go to the public, I need a motion to introduce.
Move it.
Sorry.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Green,
Second.
second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Anybody from the public want to be heard on H1? No? Okay. Do
right.
you want to be heard? If you want to be heard, you gotta come up to the mic and just say your name and address, and just turn that around too, so the people at home can hear you. There you go. Great.
Hi, my name is Kathy Murphy. I live at 40 Bushnell Road, but it's a corner lot of Rittner and Bushnell.
Okay.
And we have a very close-knit community. The street, all the kids, there's like, I'd say anywhere between 35, 38 children, and we want to have a block party because we think it would be great for the kids. Everyone approved, everyone agreed, everybody wants to do it. However, there's one house who, they didn't say they didn't want it, but apparently because every time I went there, either I knew they were home and they didn't answer the door, or they were home, they were walking to their house, they saw me get to their property, and they would slam the door. And so they wouldn't even try to know what we were doing. So, but that was the only house. Everybody else wants it, and it's just really nice for the kids, and we really want to be, just have fun for the kids,
Sure.
We're not trying to do anything outrageous or anything. I have insurance from the entertainment, saying that it's insured and everything, and sorry, I'm a little nervous.
It's okay. No, that's fine. And I know the clerk's office reached out via certified mail,
By
correct?
certified mail twice, and they didn't respond.
Yes,
It was sent back to me.
Yeah, I actually also sent a letter, well, my husband actually wrote it, but it's a letter that we sent to them, and we never heard anything. We asked them to come to our house at their convenience, to come and sign the paper. We didn't want to keep going and bothering
Sure.
them. And we didn't hear anything. We left our phone number. They didn't call. They didn't come, nothing. So we did try several times to reach out to them, as well as the clerk's office. So,
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard on H1? I'll close the public portion. Council, any comments on H1?
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Yes, I moved
Okay,
it.
so-
Yeah, I was just
I'd like
waiting.
to call
I
a vote.
wanted to introduce it before I went to the public, so.
I'd like to call a
Dr.
vote.
Greenberg?
I just want to say, I think it's great to have a sense of community there, and this way you have a better relationship with your neighbors, spend a day with them, share a fun time, and I hope your neighbors will come, they'll realize how much fun you're having and all the work that went into it. So I wish you a fun, safe time, and all the best.
Anybody else want to be heard on H1? Mrs. Walker?
I've been to many block parties throughout Old Bridge, and they are a lot of fun, and it's fun to see the neighbors all getting together and having fun, and I hope you have a nice time.
Anybody else on H1? Yeah, I mean, again, block parties are great, sense of community. I think you guys went over and above, trying to reach out to that person. I thank the clerk's office for also sending the certified letters, so I'll be supporting this as well. Have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Dungey?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Enjoy.
Thank
Yay! There you go, all right? You got a whole bunch of people to invite, right? Okay, H2, liquor license, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-009-003, Varish Incorporated, also known as Old Bridge Bar and Liquors.
He should be here.
Is the gentleman here? Yes, please come up. Everything in order?
Yes, everything's in order.
Okay.
And
Anybody
he's
from
good
the
to go.
public want to speak about H2, this consumption license? Okay. Any comments, sir? You're the owner?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody from council?
I just want to, this is late, I just want to know what happened, how come it's in July, it's supposed to be June 30th, I believe.
That time I out of country I am.
Pardon me?
I go India, so I missed that.
Oh, okay, you're away,
Yeah, away.
okay.
All right, and he does have conditions on your license that, of course, you're going to adhere to.
What are the conditions?
Just the surveillance system, which is always the same, and that he has to retain them for 7 days.
Retain the video.
The video for 7 days, which he knows. And
That's agreeable.
And he applied for that interim permit, so he's all caught up with everything.
Okay.
And the actual location of this establishment is?
Pardon?
Your-
The
your
location.
24B Route 34.
34?
Right.
That's the beginning of 34?
Yeah,
If you
like
come up with
as you
nine.
long as you enter, yeah.
Across from Madison Gardens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else comments? I don't think we have a motion and a second on this, do we?
No, we don't, not
Okay.
yet.
I need a motion, please.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mollis. Again, any questions from council? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes. Thank you.
Thank you. H3, liquor license, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-005-016, Seven Star Holdings LLC, formerly the Old New York. Is the owner here?
The attorney's here.
Okay, great. Let me get a motion introduced, then we'll go to the attorney. Can I
I'll
get a
move it.
motion? Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz, can I get a second? Second by Dr. Greenberg. Any conditions on this?
No, this is an inactive license right now.
Now, is this Grillstone?
It is.
How are we doing over there?
Getting closer, slowly,
Yeah?
but surely. It's getting-
All right, I'm looking forward to a nice big steak, so.
Okay. The only conditions on this license is the same as they always are. The surveillance system, 100 hours of activity from inside the bar and the exterior parking lots, no go-go dancing once you're opened. And in order to be opened, of course, you have to get your code enforcement, your health department certificate of occupancy, which you know.
Those are agreeable to you? Yep. Okay. Anybody from the public want to be heard on H3? Close the public portion. Council comments on H3? Mr. Rosencrantz?
I want to congratulate you. Thank you for reestablishing that property. It's been an eyesore for a very long time. I pass by it very often. It's looking great, and best of luck to you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Anybody else? Anybody else from the council?
Wish you all the best, and hopefully it gets moved forward faster for you. Thanks.
Anybody else from the council? What was that? Everybody's invited. Right after the block party, we're going to your place. There you go.
Come right over
All right.
there, all right?
Roll call, please, on H3.
Okay, Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Yes. Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luck.
H4, pardon me. H4, release reduction performance guarantee, Ida Automotive, Block 21003, Lot 3, application number 23-09Z. Cole Shapiro's here. Do we need the applicant as well? or-
Yes, we do.
Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Come on, why don't you come on up? You guys can just give me your name and address for the record, please.
Robert G. Ida, 607 Texas Road, Morganville.
And you are?
Robert Ida Jr., 7 Doe Court, Millstone, 08570.
And assume you guys are the owners?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to introduce? I'm sorry, I'm a little off tonight.
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I get a second? Second, Mr. Mollis. Great. Nicole, floor is yours.
So Ida Automotive LLC was an application in front of our zoning board of adjustment to permit the continued use of the existing facility. The property had site improvements such as drainage work, a stormwater management basin, construction of a paved parking area adjacent to the office building and garage, landscaping items, and the establishment of a vegetative buffer easement along the southern property boundary. The property is actually located along Route 18 southbound, almost at the border. Well, basically, the border actually bisects the property between Middlesex and Monmouth County. The property actually is behind residential homes, and there's a vegetative buffer of landscaping items, the majority of which are left to be installed. So right now, they are at 67% of completion. So the total performance guarantee for the project was $145,214.70, of which 10% was in cash for $14,521.47, in paper bonds of $130,693.23. The reduction representing a bond to be reduced in the amount of $87,564.46. So the bond to be remained in paper form would be $43,128.77. And the cash portion would be reduced by $9,729.38. Cash to be returned to the applicant would be $4,792.08, and my office has no objections to the reduction to the bond.
Is that agreeable to you guys? It is. Okay, great. Anybody from the public want to be heard on H4? Close the public portion. Anybody from the council want to be heard on H4? Mr. Green.
I'd just like to know on the bond portion, the bond reduction, how much is that in the way of monetary relief does that give you?
Oh, it helps us go on with the project, yes.
Excuse me?
It helps us go on with the project, yes, it does.
Okay.
Mhm.
But financially, I mean, the difference between the bond that you have now and the reduction of, and the specific to the bond, I know there's a cash portion, I understand
Yeah,
that.
the bond,
But the
we found
bond,
that was really high at the time, but, we'll live through it.
okay, you're just happy to have the reduction and move on?
Yeah, we're just gonna keep going forward. We really don't even understand why we needed the bond. It was
Do you,
our own
do you front 18?
property. There's no frontage on 18, it borders 18, but you cannot go from our
can't see it?
property. No, you can't really see our property at all.
Is it residential property in front, or something like
Yeah, we
that?
own 2 houses in the front, but they're in Marlboro.
The residential portion in the fronts basically Texas Road. Their access is from Texas Road. So they're bounded by Texas Road to the south, and then along basically the northeast property line is Route 18. They have no access from Route 18. It's basically a 2-lane highway in each direction with a center median at that point.
I'm trying to picture exactly the location.
It's very hard to see.
If you're actually coming from, let's say, the Costco on Texas Road, right, and you're traveling eastbound, and you get to the overpass that is basically over Route 18, you've gone too far. You just missed their driveway. Their driveway is right before you get to the Route 18 overpass.
Oh, wow.
A lot of times I take 18 onto Route 9. You know, I go 18 south onto Route 9 south. Are you in that area there?
Well, you'd have to look across the highway, and it's heavily wooded, so you probably really don't see us. We neighbor the shops of Albridge.
Oh, you're on the other side of 18?
Yes.
Oh. Gotcha. All right.
Any other questions on
I'm
each?
just trying to picture where you are, that's all.
Any other questions on H4? Roll call, please, on H4.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, H5, release reduction performance guarantee, Performance Harbor Plaza LLC, 301 Highway 35 Lawrence Harbor, Block 10, Lot 316, application number 34-11Z.
That's ready, Mr. Council President.
Why, Mr. Halpern? Gentlemen, one of you left your glasses here? Think somebody left his glasses?
It was there before.
No? Okay. Good evening. Jonathan, just for the record, just who you are.
Jonathan Halbran, I'm appearing on behalf of the applicant for the bond release.
Great. Let's get a motion on this so we can talk to the public if we need to. Motion on this? Moved by Dr. Greenberg. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mollis. Anybody from the public want to be heard on H5? Close the public portion. Nicole?
Harbor Plaza is actually a commercial property that's located basically at the northeast corner of the intersection of Route 35 northbound and Lawrence Harbor Parkway. It's basically just north of the formerly BP station and then also Amway Bank at that point. It's about 10,000 square foot commercial building. They're in for a bond release. All the improvements have been inspected by my office. They have been completed, and they're in for a bond release. The performance guarantee that was posted on the project was for $256,128, of which the paper bond was $230,515.20, of which 10% was in cash, $25,612.80. We haven't received any complaints to date from the neighboring properties. We've reviewed all the improvements on site and find them to be satisfactorily, subject to the CFO, subject to us confirming that all the payments of any outstanding escrow fees have been completed. We then would have to have a 2-year maintenance guarantee in the amount of $38,419.20, which represents 15% of the performance guarantee of $256,128.
And this is acceptable?
Yes, it is acceptable.
Great. Any comments from council?
Yes, Mr. President, if I may.
Miles? Yep.
Raj here has done a tremendous job on that building. It really looks good in the center of town there. Get it rented, Raj, come on. A beautiful thing to look at. Yes, it is.
Any other comments on H5? Roll call, please, on H5.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes.
Thank you. Good evening. H6 is a renewal of CSC TKR, also known as Cablevision of Raritan Valley. I'm an employee of Comcast. I need to recuse myself. Councilman Rosencrantz is going to run this particular
Thank
item.
you. Anybody from the public would like to be heard on this,
Introduce it first.
on this issue? No hands, public portion is closed. Can-
Is the operator here?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, is somebody here to represent the cable? Please step up. Can you state your name, please?
Hi, I'm Marilyn Davis. I'm the Area Director for Government Affairs for Altice, for the parent company.
Okay, could you tell us a little bit about the proposal?
So, I should say, Altice owns Optimum. We purchased the company a year ago. So part of our franchise agreement with the state locally is that we provide cable service for the town.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Ms. Walker?
Are there any other cable companies that are allowed to come in and bid, or we're just stuck with one option?
Your grandfather in, I'm not sure if other cable companies can bid or not bid. I'm not sure. I know that in the case of Comcast and Cablevision, we represent 2 different areas. I'm in the state of New Jersey. Verizon's here. I would guess that if DirecTV wanted to come in, they can come in as well.
Any other questions from the council? No other questions. Can I have a motion to introduce, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilman Green, second.
Second, sir.
Second by Councilman Mollis. Vote, please. Vote.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Yes. Mrs. Walker?
No.
And I'll vote yes.
Council Vice President Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
6 yes and 1 no.
And I recused. Okay, thank you. Moving on to preliminary public comments to the council, subject to the following conditions and restrictions. 1, during the preliminary public portion of the meeting, any person may address the Township Council on one subject for a maximum period of 5 minutes. Any such person desiring to speak during the preliminary public portion shall first sign a list maintained by the Township Clerk for such purpose. Comments during the preliminary public comment portion of the meeting shall not encompass second reading ordinances or any other matter for which comment or a public hearing is to occur at the meeting.
Lucy Morris?
My name is Lucy Morris. I reside at 75 Diamond Lane. On Tuesday, June 13th, while walking our 2 Shih Tzus, we were viciously attacked by another dog. The dog, a pit bull on a retractable leash, got away from its owner and charged at us from across the grassy common area, crossing the street, and attacked, clamping his teeth into Shaggy's head and throat. I screamed for the owner to help me, that he was killing Shaggy. The owner took hold of the leash and said, "Brooklyn, release," preceded by, "She won't let go." Neighbors were trying to help any way they could. Men were beating the dog. All the while, the owner did nothing. One neighbor ran to my home to get my husband. My husband grabbed the dog, trying to pry his jaws from Shaggy. In doing so, the dog bit my husband and let go of Shaggy. Shaggy did not survive this vicious, unprovoked attack. I tell you this tragic story so that you understand the events that followed. Old Bridge residents have the right to expect services from animal control and the police department to keep our community safe. June 13th, 2 officers arrived. One officer, while speaking to my husband, stated the man has a right to walk his dog and that he, the officer, had a pit bull. June 14th, we arrived at police department to pick up the police report, where again we were met with an officer whose attitude with us was insensitive. We took the report straight to animal control, where we met Karen Chen. We needed to know if the dog was current with rabies shots. She explained the protocol to us. Health services would be involved since my husband was bit. Lieutenant Crumper would review the report. The case would go to the court, and the disposition of the dog would be determined by the judge. We explained this was a townhouse community. We have no backyards, and the dog was quarantined at the owner's home. He would have to walk the dog, and this dog had bitten another dog just a year and a half earlier. We asked about rabies shots for the dog since the owner's statement contradicted itself. No proof of rabies shots had been provided to us. My husband had to start the series of rabies shots. She asked that we put together as much evidence as possible so that we could prove this dog was vicious. The lieutenant would review it and would be provided to the judge. June 15th, Animal Control, with a complete file of evidence with a duplicate copy, which we have right here, again requested the animal's dog status for rabies. Animal Control could not provide it. Friday, June 16th, we visited Animal Control again, still no proof of rabies. We were informed by Lynn Steckel she was going to do an inspection on the property and evaluate the dog on Saturday, June 17th. When asked how she evaluates a dog in its own surroundings, she responded, "I know my job, and I have a pit bull." June 17th, Animal Control arrived at our home, not the home they were supposed to be inspecting. She admitted she did not look at any of the information we had provided to Animal Control in that file, nor did she look at the police report to confirm the address. There were several neighbors outside at this time. If we weren't home, she would have been writing a report on our house instead of seeing the dilapidated railings and deck where this dog is housed. Ms. Steckel assured us she would evaluate the dog and the premises. Upon her return, she informed us she did not evaluate the dog, only the property, and she did not have the authority to remove the dog. The owner was told the dog was not allowed outside of the home. The dog would have to relieve itself inside the home. We demanded to speak to the lieutenant. That dog poses a danger to the residents of our community, and she told us she had no way to contact him. I again stressed the need to know about the rabies. She stated they have the report that the dog is rabies-free. I asked to see it. She could not provide it. Monday, June 19th, requested from Ms. Chen rabies report that Lynn Steckel stated they had. Ms. Chen was unaware of any such report. Asked to speak to the lieutenant. Again, we were told, not sure where he is. He is only available to us by email. I'll try to get in touch with him. And then she proceeded to ask us to write down what we wanted, and she would get in touch with him. June 21st, 8 days later, he's finally given a summons, the dog owner. June 22nd, the dog's finally surrendered. June 26th, Lieutenant Grumper contacted us after meeting with the mayor 13 days after the attack. This misstep and negligence of animal control is inconceivable. Is it the method of our tax dollars being spent this way, paying for large salaries for people who could care less about the community and the residents? I think not, and I think we all deserve an answer for this.
Michael Lucano. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Close, close. Hi, my name is Michael Acano. That's Maria Lopez, and we reside at 77 Diamond Lane. I'd like to say thank you for being heard, Mayor Henry and the distinguished members of council. Basically, why are we here? We're scared. We're angry, and we're fed up. For what you just heard from Lucy, it's beyond anything that is reasonable. We are law-abiding people, we pay our taxes, and we feel that we are not being heard properly. I propose one question to you, and that's this. How much longer is this going to go on? Honestly. It's going to be your dog today, your daughter tomorrow, or your son tomorrow. God forbid. Is that what it's going to take to get heard? I certainly hope not. We're all neighbors here. We all pay our taxes. We all do what we have to do. And all we're asking for is just to do the right thing. The fact that we have to be here and talk about if a dog is vicious is inconceivable. It's ridiculous. You see the pictures. Everyone knows the facts. As far as we are concerned personally, our dog was attacked too. Maria owns Ian, who is our dog. That's what's left of his face. Okay? Just to give
I'm looking at it. I'm listening and I'm looking.
Right.
Please.
Just to put things in proper perspective and to be fair about our facts. We had a different situation, although it was, it wasn't as horrible as Dave and Lucy's for Shaggy. We were packing a car about a little over a year ago, going to AC for my birthday. And we had the garage door open. We were packing our car, and unfortunately, due to my negligence, our negligence, I did not have our dog on a leash. We have a Cocker Spaniel, as you see, and he's a typical Cocker Spaniel. He's about as aggressive as a church mouse. Anyway, Mr. Vasquez was walking his 75-pound pit bull, and it got, my dog got behind me and went to go sniff it, say hello, and it wasn't as if just two dogs just didn't agree and nipped. The dog, and I saw it with my own eyes, went into full attack mode and ripped half of our dog's face off. Okay, that's my negligence. I'm not here to argue the law or argue fact, but you'd have to be crazy not to say to yourself or ask yourself, is this dog vicious? Clearly it is. So we just ask that you take this under consideration and move this forward and get this dog removed from our area and put down. Case closed. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Steve Rosenberg.
Good evening. That's okay. Just pull the mic close so we can hear you at home. Yep.
117 Diamond, and I'm here to speak for Dave Morris. Unfortunately, he's emotional, cannot get through his statement by himself. Can't hear it. Okay.
Yeah, just move it up a little bit. There you go. Is it on?
Is the red light, is the light on, is the yellow light on?
Hold on
Green
one
light
second.
on?
There we go.
I thought it was on,
Yeah.
but wasn't.
Good to go now.
Okay, again, I'm speaking for Dave Morris. This is his statement, not mine. I don't wish to relive the tragedy that took place on June 13th. I feel no matter what is said today, the actions by this township and court system will not change all decisions, in my opinion, are politically motivated. On the 13th of June, I lost my little buddy. For 14 years, he was by my side every day. He was family. Never mean, never aggressive, just a little boy who loved to lay in the grass by my side. No matter what I was doing, he would just follow. I had a lot of dogs in my life, all different sizes and breeds. They all had one thing in common. None of my dogs had ever been mean, aggressive, or vicious. But I guess that's the way you treat them determines the way they become, mean, aggressive, or vicious. Shaggy was not just a pet. He was my buddy. He was family, and he was the greatest of them all. I remember when Shaggy first came to live with us and become part of our family. He was a year old. My sister-in-law knew a family. They kept him in a crate. They said he was untrainable. They wanted him gone. She asked my wife and I if we would take him. The first night we brought him home, it was late. I put Shaggy in the crate for the night. That was the last time Shaggy ever saw the crate. We never had a problem. It was amazing when you show a little love. I can accept death from age and illness. It's hard to accept death from someone else's carelessness. I hear people say they will do anything to protect their family and the ones they love, and yes, I believe that. But when you believe that someone else's carelessness and takes that away, then you failed. And now I live with that every day. I was unable to protect him from a neighbor. He died because he had to pee, and I wasn't there to protect him. He was mauled to death. I feel like I let him down. I was unable to keep my word, and I pray for his forgiveness and hope someday to see him lay in the grass again together. I don't understand how people think, how the township and its representatives could think that some of the things that I've heard. Now you put yourself in harm's way. You should not have gone after the neighbor's dog. I would have to ask them if they truly believe that. If it were your wife, your family laying in the road, what would you do? Put yourself in our shoes. If your family was in my family's position with a vicious pit bull on top of them and the owner just standing there, what would you have done? I didn't have minutes, I had seconds. The town can say what they want. The neighbors were there helping me that day, tried to save my family. I thank them. The town, the owner of the dog, put their needs before those of the residents. The needs, because it's not if, it's when does this man lose control of the dog again. The track records are a proven fact. I find it amazing how they are willing to gamble with lives. I would like to thank Dr. Greenberg from the start. She has been the only one in the township that showed compassion and tried to do the right thing. I have heard the statements from the mayor. Shame on him. Shame on him for his false promises that he made to the law-abiding citizens. The township interprets the law to what best suits them. There will never be a need for a call to the police again. There is no justice. I am ashamed to say I live in Old Bridge. No one can change the past, but one neighbor and his carelessness has changed our lives forever. His unwillingness to make measures to protect the neighborhood from his dog. His dog has bitten in the past, and no precautionary measures were taken by him. His decisions have changed our lives together, forever. His decision to do nothing, to me, means that he had the right to say who gets to live and who gets to die, Basically, he decided my little buddy was expendable. His decisions now leave our lives and home empty. His life stays the same. Ours is in disarray. This man has never shown any remorse or taken any responsibility for his dog's actions. Shaggy did not deserve what happened to him. He did not deserve to have his life end in such a vicious way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon Cologne.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Cologne, and I live at 70 Diamond Lane. I am here as a concerned resident of Foxborough Village. I witnessed the horrific pit bull attack in progress. My husband and I saw the attack from our kitchen window. We ran outside to help. The Shih Tzu's owner, Lucy Morris, was trying to retrieve Shaggy from the pit bull's mouth. The owner of the pit bull was doing nothing to help. My husband and other neighbors attempted several times to get the pit bull to release Shaggy, but it did not. I ran to Lucy's house to get her husband, Dave Morris. Dave was able to get the pit bull to release Shaggy, and he got bit on the arm in the process. Shaggy did not survive this horrible attack. This was the most vicious act of violence that I ever witnessed in my life. The pit bull was not removed from the home that evening. On June 22nd, several neighbors and I met with Mayor Henry. Prior to this meeting, we were told that the pit bull was removed from the home that day. In the meeting, Mayor Henry told us that the pit bull would not return to Foxborough Village. On July 6th, I was notified that the pit bull was returned to the home. I was outraged because I was told by the mayor that this dog would not return. I know that the dog was removed from the home again, and there is still a strong possibility that he may come back. I am afraid to go outside of my home, to get my mail, and to go on my walks. My mother-in-law often brings over her Shih Tzu Bichon to my home. I'm afraid to walk him in our neighborhood. I should not live in a community, I should not be afraid to live in a community where I am afraid. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Flora? I think that's you. I'm not sure on your last name. I can't read it. Okay, maybe.
Good evening, Madeline Passioni, 35 Emerald Lane. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Old Bridge Council. I am here in support of my neighbor and friends, Lucy and Dave Morris. They have experienced a great loss, tragedy by just walking a dog. I wonder if it were a child, would we be all here? But this is their child, and we are here, and they, as well as the Foxborough community, are living in fear. We live in townhomes without back or front yards. We were promised by the mayor that this animal would not be returning to Foxborough, and that our children could come out and play, and that we did not have to worry about going out and getting our mail. But this is not so. Despite the fact that the New Jersey State Law 4:19-19, which is the Old Bridge Law 39-28, both state that this animal should not return, and all other laws broken by the owner of this dog, they are still going to allow this dog to return. So as taxpayers, we will have to continue to live in fear and worry whether a child, another pet, or ourselves are going to be next. I ask you all as our representatives to look into this matter legally and as members of this Old Bridge community before the July 12th court date, and help us make sure that this does not happen again to anyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barry Solomon?
Good evening.
Evening. Barry Solomon, 32 Dorado Court. Yes, I'm back. I was here at the last township meeting. At the last meeting, I asked for direction on how our concern for services and housing for the 21 and over special needs community could be addressed. Vice President Mr. Rosencrantz, at the time, at the end of the presentation, said to me, "Thank you." But I'd really like to know exactly what does that mean. Well, I'm not a politician. I have a very good idea on how this works sometimes. Has anything been discussed since the last meeting? Will something be done, or is it out of sight, out of mind? And I think the silence speaks volumes. I really come here hoping that something would be discussed, or would have been discussed about this. And I really came with two different presentations. One is, which I'm going to speak now, because it appears that nothing has been discussed. At the last meeting, I will say I was disappointed, so was a lot of other people. But then after I left and thought about what took place, I was, to say the least, upset and confused. That the council decided, and this is a little different, but had an executive session meeting earlier in the meeting that was not only unfair, but downright absurd. You mentioned the attorney insisted on it. I'm just curious, has this ever happened before, and why was it so important? We had people here, special needs children, special needs parents, who wanted to be here when I was able to speak, but we didn't get to speak till 9 or 9:30. I'm wondering if it ever happened before. On top of that, there was a 45-minute presentation at the beginning of the meeting. There are some special needs parents who were able to come tonight, able to stay, and we'll have some more in the future. While the mayor is very supportive of our special sons and daughters by attending numerous events, including the Elks Club, Camp Robin, Special Olympics, and other events, I must say I've not seen most of the council at any events. Why not? The senior citizens have a center in Old Bridge. They have a really nice center in transportation. But what about the special needs adult in this community? Shouldn't they have a special needs adult center in town? If you think about it, how many special needs children are in the district right now? I believe over 700. What will they do at 21? Old Bridge needs a special needs adult community center for our growing children, along with whatever else they could help us with. These are sons and daughters, and since you are representing them, it'd be nice to meet them. These kids are wonderful, great, and they love to know what goes on in the town and such. They are also voters, and it could make a difference this fall. We, including our kids, are ready to support whoever supports our cause, but also ready to support other candidates if need be. I work in Manhattan. While it's difficult for me to get to these meetings, there is nothing more important to our group than our children that are growing up or have grown up. While I, as a father, will do what's needed for our kids, more so, there are mothers here who have worked and continue to work 24/7 to do what is needed for the kids. The requested daycare center is something, and I won't say daycare center, a requested center for the 21 and over, because I said the last meeting, Old Bridge does wonders for 3 through 21. But we have to go out of town, up north, down south, for people to help us with that. The numerous parents that want to be involved, again, at the last meeting, I said, I'm not looking for the town or the township to do everything on their own. I asked, what's the step that we could do together? I mean, these are the kids who are going to grow up, and every year there are more and more. Well, we want to work with the council, since you have the wherewithal to help us, and we want to do the journey together. I'm asking tonight for a commitment of you that we could work together, and what would be the next step? I don't know what the next step here is. The parents would like to be involved. We would like to get involved with us. The state, we know the state needs to be involved. I've done some investigating, done some research, but we really need some help. And again, these are kids who've grown up in Old Bridge, who are going to be growing up, who are going to be adults, who would like to live here, like to work here, like to do things. I mean, if anybody's seen them, and you'll be seeing them in September again. Just came back, as I said last time, too, from Special Olympics. They all have great Special Olympics time in New Jersey. They came to the meetings. They love to be here. They love to everybody to see how wonderful they are. They work in the town. And it's just something, I wonder what is the next step that you could help us with. And thank you.
Thank you.
Opening down.
Yeah. Sorry, we have a problem reading it, but 77 Diamond Lane?
79 Diamond Lane.
79 Diamond Lane? Sorry about that.
I know my writing's not that great.
Yeah, you sound like me.
Hi, my name's Anthony Dahl. I live at 79 Diamond Lane, in reference to the pit bull attack. My dear friend, my neighbor, lost his dog. Very tragic. We all know that already. But the bottom line is, my wife does not want to go bike riding. My daughter does not want to go walking with my wife or a bike ride. My daughter's birthday was yesterday. I said, honey, you want to go get a bike? No, Daddy, I don't need it. I don't know what else to say. I can't walk my daughter. I can't go walking with my wife. Do I have to arm myself to go outside now? And that's the end. Thank you.
233 Silver Lane. Sorry, we can't read your writing. Sorry.
Good evening.
My name's Marcel Chevrier DiBiase. I've lived here since 1999, peacefully. It's a very nice community. I've never heard of anything like what took place in our community. I've had a dog for 16 years. I lost it because it had to be put to sleep. That was traumatic. I cannot imagine what this family, these lovely people, have gone through and will have with them for the rest of their lives. It's not something you forget. But you know that. My personal problem is I no longer feel safe in my home. I'm not safe to take my granddaughter, who weighs 45 pounds, to the park in our development. That dog lives across from the park. Now, it may not be a personal concern to you because you don't live in my community, in my direct community. But it will be your concern, and it is a risk for this community financially, as well as every other way. Because if some child ends up dead because it takes one bite from a jaw of a pit bull that goes through a carotid artery, and that person or that child will not have time to get to the hospital before they die. I worked in medicine for 20 years. I know this fact. You need to know it because our community will be held responsible. In a broader sense, all the property values get to come down. If this kind of thing were to happen and be in the newspaper, let me tell you, you'd be sorry. We'd all be sorry. On a personal level, I have the right to be able to take my granddaughter to the park in my development that I pay for. I have the right to live without the fear that someone's dog is going to rip part of our family apart. I want to know why the people who represent this community, when they're called, tell people, oh, well, I have a pit bull. What are you saying? You don't care? I mean, why are you saying that? Not just one person, but several representatives. Are they going to be reprimanded for that? Because that kind of comment, in that situation, there's no place for it. I want to know what you, as representatives of this community, have what is in your power to do to change the situation. Now, not next week, not next month, very much in an immediate sense, because you are now responsible. You have been put on notice in this public way. The mayor is aware of it. I'm very disappointed to find out tonight that you made promises that you did not keep.
Council, I'll comment when everybody from the, I'll have some information to share.
I expect to hear what you can do. What is in your power? What can you do for us? Because whether you personally care about it, as a community, we will care about it very much if we end up in court being sued or as a national headline because some child or some person got killed. Not everybody feels like a dog is their baby, although I do, but you should care about the human beings, and you should care about how at risk you're not doing anything places us all in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elections come around. Dave, 66 Diamond Lane?
Sorry about that.
That's
That's
okay.
okay. That's all right.
Good evening, President Cahill, Mayor Henry. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Dave Wolven. I live at 66 Diamond Lane. Before I start, I wanted to congratulate the Shady Tree folks over here. One of the things that we heard that they Shady Tree. That's what I
Shade
said,
tree.
right?
Shade
Okay.
tree.
These folks over here. The reason why I'm saying that is we heard tonight the mayor congratulate you guys for doing something that I took note of, getting rid of dangerous trees or potentially dangerous trees. You get a tree fall on a kid yet? Or are you just going to take it down because it looks weak? Because it's maybe leaning? Yeah? So if a tree's leaning over here.
Excuse me, sir.
Right? Okay,
Please.
sorry.
Thank you.
Leaning over your head. Sorry, I got a little overzealous. If you got a tree leaning over here and it's 3 inches from you, it hasn't fallen yet, it's not creaking, anything like that. It's leaning right over you. You gonna remove it?
Sir, you're addressing the council
Okay.
right now. Thank you.
Okay, so getting back to the subject. I was one of the first people at the scene of this dog attack. As I was pulling out of my driveway, I rolled down my window and I heard, "Help, he's killing him." I got out of my car, went to the trunk and pulled out a shovel. I'm 265 pounds, I'm nearly 6 feet tall, and I bench press over 400 pounds. I beat this dog with the shovel until the shovel broke on its skull. I then went into my garage and I pulled a rotor from an elliptical machine, which is a piece of gym equipment that's about a 20-pound piece of lead. I went over to the dog and started beating it about the ribs, and skull, and shoulder areas. Could not get the dog to release. Finally, I was able to drop the weight on the dog's jaw, right on the side of its jaw. All it did was rear up on its back legs and start howling and lunging at me. Okay? This was one of the worst things I had ever seen. I have a child. I have a 20-month-old child. This happened 30 feet from my garage. It happened in the cul-de-sac that my daughter plays. The dog lives at the playground that my daughter goes to with my wife. Dave didn't have a daughter, but he had a dog that was his child. Mayor Henry has 4 rescue dogs. If you had your 4 rescue dogs, if something like this had 3 rescue dogs, you did have 4. But if you had those 3 rescue dogs and something happened to it, if you walked out and you or your wife had one of your beautiful rescue dogs with its face in another dog's mouth, getting its jaw ripped apart, and there was somebody that could help you, the mayor's job is to oversee executive power of the municipality. When you were hired, when you were running for office, the centralnewjersey.com news asked you, why would people vote for you? And one of your answers was, aside from your business acumen, okay, we know you're a great businessman, business acumen, work ethic, no doubt, right? One of your statements was that all of my decisions will be made for the best interest of the town residents and taxpayers of Old Bridge, was it not? What happened? What happened? That's all I want to know is what happened. We've got a situation, this is not a potentially dangerous dog. This is not a potentially dangerous tree. This is a dangerous animal who has attacked 2 dogs and possibly several others in the community. We don't know, okay? I'm not gonna let anything happen to my family. Believe me. If that was me, there would have been a very different outcome. This man and this family are wonderful people. Their lives were ruined by somebody, and our promises haven't been kept. Okay, sir, and I apologize for seeming a little bit aggressive.
Understood.
Okay, but this is unbelievable. This is completely disastrous. And honestly, like Dave, I'm a little bit ashamed too. I didn't move from North Jersey in a very congested, rough area to a private community to raise a family, to have to want to carry a knife or buy a gun. I didn't move to Middlesex County, to Old Bridge, New Jersey. We're not a bad town, right? Our crime should be low. We don't need to be scared here, do we? Then why do the people in Foxborough have to be scared? President Cahill, if this was you don't have to answer me. If a dog latched onto your child's head or your animal's head, I know you'd understand. I know you would, and I know Mr. Henry would too. He loves animals too. 2015, the Humane Board endorsed you, didn't they? Because of your love for animals and what you do for animals. Do the right thing. Protect us. Protect me. Protect my family. I'm a taxpayer, I'm a voter, and I'm a resident, and I deserve to be safe, and all these people deserve to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Zito.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Zito, 23 Van Delft Drive. I am also speaking on, along with Barry, regarding a special needs camp or some type of an adult community center for children with special needs. I have a 19-year-old with Down syndrome. Mayor Henry has been very supportive with our soccer league. However, we don't have any other community centers for children with special needs. My son is 19 with Down syndrome. He has 2 more years in high school, and anything I look forward to trying to do with him would have to be outsourced into another town. So we're trying to get some leadway, some advice on a building or something that we can occupy and my son would even be able to work there and get a nominal salary for it, for some type of assisting with other children with special needs, as he does now on the soccer field. So we just need to know which avenue to go. Hopefully, we can come together and keep our kids as part of the community here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Maduros?
Evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Karen Medeiros. I'm on 271 Amboy Road in Matawan. A couple of you are my neighbors. First of all, I want to thank Mayor Henry and everyone who's supported the Just for Kicks Soccer League that I run. Many of you have come to the field, and you're a great support system, and thank you for all the donations you've all given the league. So on that note, as you know that we have the largest soccer league in town with special needs, we also have a lot of special needs. So we're asking for help maybe to sit down with someone to find the right road to approach this community that we'd like to have for the adults. Once you reach 21, there really isn't much out there, and there's so many in the town that we'd really like to help. And I know you all want to help because you have big hearts and you're all supportive. So if someone could maybe help us talk to the state, figure out what we have to do to get this community center going, or the right road. You know, we're new at this, you know, we're winging it, and we'd like your help and support. So if you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Kathy Murphy, I know you spoke. Did you want to speak again? She left? Okay. John Murphy?
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
No problem.
Okay.
John Murphy, Claridge Court Apartments. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and voting in the primary. It turned out to be a much larger primary than we thought it was going to be, and at that time, 3, maybe 4 incumbents were defeated, which shows what I've been saying. The town is looking for a change. It's time we move on and stuff and stop putting up with deals. And I just feel like I've been here 60 years, probably longer than anybody in here has been, and I feel they're trying right now to sell out the town. I just feel it's too many different changes going on, and they're going the wrong way. This election coming up this year is about Old Bridge, as far as I'm concerned. That's all it's about. We have to get a council here that's going to listen to the people, not a council that's going to do what they want and doesn't care what the people want. And that's what I feel it's come down to. Right now, what I'm hearing is that most people do not want me to win right now. My opponent, the county Republican chairperson, who I defeated, has now decided to back the Democrat. She told me that unless I made a deal with her, which I agreed not to, because that deal would have cost about $3 million to the township. And I just want to tell you people, whether I win or whether I lose, I'm going to be here and I'm going to fight this. So just stay strong and let's get Old Bridge back together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Manel Patel, 68 Diamond Lane.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, council members. I'm Kunal Patel. I am 68 Diamond Lane. We all are neighbors here. Of course, we're talking about Shaggy and the very, very unfortunate event that happened mid-June. My 2 kids, they play there. They exactly play where this incident happened. It was just a matter of incidents, a matter of, good luck for them that they weren't outside. For the most evenings, they are outside playing. Not just the fact that, all my fellow family members, spoke here about how vicious the dog is, but I'm here to say that, the owner of the dog did not have any control
of the dog while the dog was being held, because my wife and I, we were witnessing this exact event that was there, which actually just brings chills to my spine even now as I talk about it, as I think through it again. The owner could not do anything about the dog. The dog, strike one. The owner did not have the immunization current, strike two. I am really not certain what the owner could have done, if this was their own, family member. So I'm here. I think most of us are here, partly because we are scared. My 62-year-old mom, who actually has a problem with her knees that need to walk around, who has been required by the doctor to walk around, she does not go for a walk. I ordered a treadmill for her, a proof of that I could show you, just because she will need to walk at home, just because she's not going outside, not for the worry of the dog. I can show you the proof of the treadmill that was ordered a week back, just for that. Most of us, we live in fear, which really should not be the case. So that is really part of the reason why we are here, and I think most of us are here just to show our solidarity with Dave and Lucy. We are a family. We are all here together. I've been with Old Bridge for like good 5 years. I needed water. My water broke down. My neighbors helped me. I needed my pipe broke down. My neighbors helped me. I'm here to show my solidarity with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen Bavades.
Hi, my name is Karen Bonadies. I live in 19 Lindsay Circle, and I'm here to talk about the water/sewer bill that we all have every single 3 months. I am a senior citizen and I live in a condo. My water bill every 3 months is $212. If I lived in a private home with 4 or 5 people, it would probably be about the same amount. All the surrounding towns have much less water and sewer bills. Now, I know this is the town council and not the OBMUA, but I also know that there's a lot of people that are on the town council that have affiliations with the OBMUA. So I'm asking for your help to help the citizens of Old Bridge. If you go on to oldbridgeparents.com, you'll see that most of the comments on oldbridge.com are about the water bills. I have a lot of neighbors in my condo. I'm on the BOT for the condo, and that's the pet peeve, is the water bill in Old Bridge. We need help. As a senior citizen, I am now on a Social Security, on living on a fixed income, and this water bill is outrageous. So I'm asking you for your help to contact the people at the OBMUA and do everything you can to either get it out of the hands of the OBMUA and into the town councils, that we can regulate how the bills come in. I have no problem paying my electric bill or my gas bill. I pay for what I use. But in Old Bridge, there is a minimum for the sewer. And that's what's raising up the amount of the money for each and every one of us. I am sure that everybody in this room that lives in Old Bridge can attest to you that the water bills are outrageous. They are really outrageous. So I'm asking for you as the town council to do something about the water bills. I know there's a meeting coming up on July 19th of the OBMUA, and I'm asking everybody here and everybody at home to please come and do whatever we can to stop this, because these bills are outrageous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Edward Alamont.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Edgar Almoete, 67 Diamond Lane. I'm here to voice out my concern regarding the dog that viciously attacked and killed Mr. and Morris's dog, Shaggy. And my deep concern is for the safety of the small children in my cul-de-sac, as well as my dog's safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick Sarno.
Hello, how are you guys? How you guys doing, all right?
Good, how are you?
Good. I brought this up once before about the stop sign on Ferry Road that goes into Route 18. And it's a note you can turn on red after you make a full stop. However, people don't do that anymore. They're still doing the roll through. They just roll through it now. And also, now that they're building a Dunkin' Donuts in the lot across the street on Ferry Road there, and 2 other stores, the traffic is going to increase, and I'm just curious as to, is there going to be a new traffic pattern, or what's happening there exactly? And whether or not you could put an actual stop sign there instead of stop and then go. No more turn on red. I'd like to see that eliminated, because they just roll through it there. When you're making a U-turn from Route 18 to go onto Ferry Road, to Route 18 North, they don't stop. They cut you off, they hit their horns, they do everything crazy. And somebody's gonna get killed there. Bad accidents. All right?
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patel? I think he was here for the liquor license.
Philippe Patel?
Oh, no. I have one more. Joanne Platt?
Yeah, there'll be another, at the end of the meeting, we have to follow the agenda. At the end of the meeting, there'll be another opportunity for public to speak, okay? Yeah, we have to follow the rules, I'm sorry, ma'am, okay? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to say I have empathy for your dog that you lost. I have 2 Shih Tzus, and even though nobody else will even say they're concerned, I'm concerned. God bless you. So I was going through the minutes on the Old Bridge website from the previous meetings, and I have a question. Why aren't they updated? The last one says April. Don't they have to be updated every so many weeks or months? I don't know how that works. I thought they had to be updated. The last one says April 27th, but I was here last month. There's no minutes for it. No minutes for May. Was
we'll
there a
check it
meeting in
out.
May?
We'll check it out and find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I've been asking about the shelter hours, if they were going to be longer by adjusting the hours of the employees, and I haven't seen that happen, and I just want to know, is it even being talked about as a possibility? And I guess you can't even say yes or no.
Well, there are discussions going on.
Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You see, if you don't tell us that,
Well,
we get all wound up, and we don't.
I know, but you know what?
It makes it
What's
worse.
difficult is this is the public portion, you're supposed to address the council, then the council has an opportunity to speak, but I just wanted to answer your question, okay? So,
Thumbs up. And I also wanted to know about the volunteers. I don't see any new volunteers there. I mean, I go in once in a while. I was there today, and there was nobody there. All I saw was the director texting on her phone. I didn't see anything happening. It was very quiet, didn't hear any dogs barking or anything, which was good. But if there's no volunteers, the dogs aren't being socialized or the cats aren't being socialized, and it makes it hard to be adoptable. And I know there's issues with past volunteers or investigations going on, but why can't you get new volunteers? I mean, I can volunteer. I'm available almost every morning. I can come in for 2 hours, walk a dog, talk to a cat, hold a cat, take them outside, something, anything. But apparently, nobody is doing anything about that. And I heard that kittens have to be fed twice a day. If there's nobody there, who's feeding the kittens? I mean, babies have to be fed more often than cats. And I know the issue's not about money because there's so many volunteers that are willing to help out for free. I don't understand why you keep turning away free help. I mean, free is good. I take it. And let's see. I just thought it was really nice that you're helping the block party. Everybody came together on that. Everybody came together about the trees. But for the animals, it's always nothing. I mean, you really got to come together to help animals.
anybody else on the list? Okay, that concludes the first public portion. Before we go to council member comments, Mr. Mayor, you said you wanted to be heard?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. On 2 topics that were brought up in our public preliminary discussion. First is the unfortunate incident in Foxborough. We do not ban breeds in our town. And I'm doing everything.
Can we let the mayor respond, please?
Yeah. I'm doing everything under the law to make sure that that animal does not come back to Foxborough. It does not pose a threat to you as we speak right now. We have the animal. There was a loophole in the ordinance that I'm going to be coming before council to change. The dog left our jurisdiction. We did not have jurisdiction in another town. Our ordinance means nothing across the border. The dog was not allowed, but came back for a few hours, and we took the dog immediately once I found out that the dog was back in town. We are working under our current ordinance that we've reviewed top to bottom with legal, with the chief of police. We will be making recommendations to the council so that, I don't know if we can ever avoid this type of attack in the future, but under our current ordinance, I can only do what I'm allowed to by the law. I know maybe you feel disappointed in that, but I can't break the law. I can only do what I can do, and trust me.
Excuse me, please. Excuse me.
Counsel, I can only...
Excuse me, please. Excuse me. Please. Please. Excuse me. I will have you removed from the courtroom. Please.
I
Stop.
understand. I understand the emotions. I would, as the person said, I have 3 small animals. If something like this happened, I don't know what I would do. I understand the emotions here, but you have to realize what I'm up against. I'm up against the law, and we are doing everything we can under the law, to keep this animal out of Old Bridge. Okay? Under our law, the dog has been deemed potentially under our law. Okay, based on what it did, the actions that the dog took and the owner is deemed potentially. Now, we've reopened the case with the prosecutor and legal. I know there's potential litigation here, so I don't want to overstep. I normally wouldn't do that. You know, I'm a professional, but I'm doing everything I can to protect the residents of Old Bridge. So I can tell you that this dog today does not pose a threat to you. And it's going to take hurdles, many hurdles, for this dog to be allowed, under our current law, to be allowed back into Foxborough. It should, I agree with you 100%.
Please.
I agree. It should not be allowed. But under our law, the law, it might be if the owner, who is obviously irresponsible, meets certain conditions. Now, we are trying to change those conditions, one of the conditions being that it not be allowed back in a residential area. That's what we're going to look at doing with the judge, looking with the prosecutor, based on your testimony, which is very important under our current ordinance. The neighbors, if they have a problem, they need to come forward, and you have, thank you. And now you have given us the tools we need to make sure that this animal doesn't come back to the town. So I apologize for...
Excuse me.
Well, you know, we do care.
Excuse me,
You can say,
please.
you can say that we care. I care. That's a lack of knowledge if you think this is political. A lack of knowledge. So, you know, I just ask anyone to, you know, help us. We need your help in this. I need the council's help. I need your help in order to prevent this dog from coming back into this town. Right now, it does not pose a threat to you.
Before I get thrown out, here's all your evidence.
We have.
Vicious dog, not potential.
It did not meet the criteria, unfortunately.
You had a copy of that file.
Potential?
3 dogs, 1 human.
What the council still doesn't know is that
Excuse me, please. Please.
Even know about it.
It's you know, I understand no matter what I'm saying, you're not gonna be happy, but I understand. I'm trying. I really am trying.
Can we let the mayor finish without being interrupted?
Don't leave till council comments. We're not allowed to talk.
Okay.
Mrs. Walker, once the mayor's finished, I'm going to go to all the council members, please.
And I'm trying to get you to leave by speaking out. I didn't mean to upset anyone. I really did not. I'm just telling you what we're trying to accomplish.
You know what everybody's upset for? It took you 13 days to say a word. If you would have said something on the 15th, people would have been happier, or at least felt safer.
When
It
the
took you
dog was
13
first...
days. And Mayor, don't give me that, because
Okay.
you called them to ask to talk to us. We agreed to talk to you, and you sent a cop to come talk to us. You asked to speak to us, we agreed to it, and then you didn't show up. You sent somebody in your behalf. That is uncalled for.
I apologize for that. The reason some of the issues you had were with the police department. The mayor's office does not investigate the police department. We do not discipline, so they need to take those reports from you. It would be improper if the mayor was involved in those discussions. If you had a complaint against the
We
officers.
didn't take any reports. We did not hear from a cop for 13 days. We delivered this to animal control ourselves. We supplied them all the information they need. And what did I get in return? They couldn't even give me a copy of the damn rabies shot. Really? Are you serious? You serious? You, for 13
The dog
days,
was not
for
licensed.
13 days, we heard nothing. Then you wonder why people are upset and scared?
I'm upset. I'm just as upset.
Day two, maybe tensions would have been calmed. But no, 13 days after the fact. And then when you ask to speak to us, you send somebody else in your place.
I thought that was the proper thing to do at the time. I apologize for that.
When the man, we asked to speak to the man for 13 days, and he don't talk to us, you send him now at 13 days to talk to us. That's the proper thing to do?
Under the circumstances, I thought it was, yes.
Okay.
I mean, on the second topic, the adult program. I've been trying for about 2 years now and working with Pete Piero. We've been in contact with the state. Currently, we only have the one, I believe it's a Friday night program for the adults, we're working with the state to get permission. You can't just do the things that you want to do with special needs. You have to have the program that is registered, approved, and we are working with the state to accomplish that. We've hit some hurdles on it, with the state. I've reached out to Senator Thompson. We have some phone numbers. We do not get return calls. We are working in the direction you want to go. And I would love to come back to you and say, yes, we have a summer camp. We have a 3-night-a-week program. We are working towards that. But there's a process we have to go through. And everyone knows with government, those processes sometimes are quite painful. But you know me, I support Camp Robin. I support our special needs. I believe because of Camp Robin, people move to Old Bridge because of those programs that we have. And I want to see those programs continue through the adult stages of life because I believe they're very productive. I believe it makes us a better community if we provide those services. So we are trying. We are. And, if anyone wants to come and speak with me, we'll sit down. If you can help us, we'll come up with a plan, who you can contact, what the hurdles we have come up against, and we'll come up with a game plan on how to move forward.
Okay.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. I didn't mean to
Nope.
rile the crowd up, but I'm just trying to be truthful with everyone. I know
Understood.
sometimes it's difficult.
Understood. Councilmember comments, who'd like to speak? Dr. Greenberg and then Mrs. Walker. And Mr. Green, in that order.
First of all, I want to say I am so sorry for the tragedy and the pain that you're enduring. There was an initial incident where your neighbor, his dog, the Cocker Spaniel, was attacked. What was done after that? That is where I'm vague about. First of all, I also want to thank you for reaching out to me. I was not known about this attack from the administration. They didn't we weren't aware of it on the council. Public safety, and I hope you do answer the question about the Cocker Spaniel, but I want to say, public safety is paramount. You have a right to be safe. And if that dog attacked once, it's a dog. It's going to attack again, most likely. And these incidents were not provoked. Someone got injured. You had a bite wound. You had a right to know whether that dog, in a certain amount of time, was up to date on its rabies or not. You had a right to know. And from the township, we need to be more compassionate. A simple phone call, how are you, Mr. Morris? Are you okay? Is really the response that I would have wanted to give you if I'd known initially. So with that dog, the person who owns that dog was irresponsible. There are dogs just like people. There are nice people and there are not so nice people. There are bad dogs and there are good dogs. That dog was in the hands of the wrong person with training. After that first incident, there should have been an investigation. Every bite wound has to be investigated by the police and the Board of Health. From that point, if that deemed that dog was a problem, there are precautions that should have been made. It should not have been able to be left out of its house without a cage muzzle on its face. Secondly, retractable leashes to me are useless. I can't stand when I ever see anyone with them, whether it's a small dog or a large dog. You do not have control with retractable leashes. It may sound good in people's mind, I let my dog go 10, 20 feet with it. You do not have control, and when you don't have control of your dog, and your dog doesn't respect you when they're on a 10 and 20-foot leash. If you have a dog on a reasonable 3 to 5 foot leash, that dog respects you because you are in control. So that dog did something horrible because it wasn't trained properly and it was not controlled properly. I hope you get all the answers that you need, and the dog, after 2 times, it shouldn't be 3 strikes are out. It first maimed the dog, bit a human being, and 3, killed the dog. So that dog, through homeowners insurance, I know because I deal with it all the time, there are certain breeds that homeowners insurance will not even allow in your dog be in the house, especially after 1 attack and now 2, with the outcome that you've had. So I want to apologize that this ever happened, and it's very sad for that dog who was not trained. That dog has to live with that individual who did not train the dog and did not control the dog, and now the fate of that dog is up for grabs too. So all around, there is not a win-win situation with this, and I apologize, and I hope you get resolution, and I will help you in any way that I can.
Mrs. Walker, you were next.
There's a lot to be said in council comments, and unfortunately, sometimes when the public comes up, they're only allowed to speak on one issue, and you get 5 minutes, and that's very short, and we wanted to change that, because there's a lot to say, and perhaps I'll be told to be quiet. Just as you said with the special needs children, they are special. They're not just special when they're children, they're special forever. And they do need help. And there are programs that you could do through grants, whether it's local, reaching out to county, reaching out to state, and to federal. And usually they're shared services. And a lot of times I can identify, just as probably a lot of people in this room, buildings that the township owns that are just abandoned. There is no reason that one of those buildings can't be used, and we could find a way for you to use that, and with working together, get it done. There are grants that can be done, and there are training programs, and the most important way is to do it with shared service and training. And I'm not in the position as far as all the details at this time, but I would be willing to help in any way also with that. And I can assure you, there's not one council member on this board that wouldn't be opposed to helping. And I know that there's really not anyone here that doesn't want the Morrises not to feel the pain that they're in and to go through this. Now, third, I want to deal with a situation that I have to deal with the council. And I want some answers for that also, because this affects the town as a whole. There was a special meeting, basically for the council meeting last week, that I was called on a Monday, and this deals with the COA, and if I could attend this meeting. And I tried to do my job to the best that I could, but because of work, I could not make it to this council meeting. So I have a lot of questions with it, and I want to know why there was a special meeting. And so I hope I do get that answer tonight. And I want to know why tonight we couldn't have what they discussed at this special meeting on the meeting tonight, for all the public to hear, all the residents to hear, not at 5 o'clock when it's difficult for people to get, because for everyone has to realize the council meeting, you know what's most important about it, is the public session. I want to hear from you. I represent you, and I don't know what to do unless I hear from you. And I want to answer all your questions tonight, but it's not my council meeting, it's your council meeting, so I'm going to be short. So obviously I haven't gotten that meeting, why there was this special meeting to talk about COA and vote on COA, which affects all of us and affects the future of Old Bridge, it affects the landscape of Old Bridge, it affects what we're going to look at in 10, 15, 20 years, when most of these people will be gone. And so you have to vote for what it's going to look at then. So I don't know why we had this special meeting. If it was a court order, I want to see that court order. But not only that, this was voted down 2 times, and all of a sudden, we brought it up again. I would like to see why, when things are voted down, it keeps on coming up till they get the right answer. I'm told we have to do this because it's the law. Well, it's the law, then why do we even have to vote on it? It's ridiculous. And so the bottom line is, I didn't get the opportunity to, it's the law. Well, it's the law, then why do we even have to vote on it? It's ridiculous. And so the bottom line is, I didn't get the opportunity to phone call in and give my opinion. And you know what? It wasn't an emergency meeting. Everything was paid, the town's running fine. So I don't even know why we have a special meeting, but I'll hope I get that answer tonight or in the future. But I know about this COA situation quite well. And I know I've been reading in other towns, whether it's Sayreville, South Brunswick, and all the other towns. We can meet our COA obligation without building 3,000 apartments. We can have homes. We can have special homes for the special needs children. We can have special homes for veterans. There does not have to be COA. You build these COA apartments now, you are going to change it, because then there's going to be the fair share plan. It's going to change it again, and they want more homes. So you know what? In the state, and as you know, there are urban areas, there are suburban areas, and there are rural areas. And now there'll be no suburban areas, and then they'll start infiltrating the rural areas. When we talk about the trees, when they made these decisions to build these apartments, there was no studies for police protection, there was no study for traffic, and there was no study to incorporate open space. I know, I can tell you about these meetings before it happened all along. Mr. Brunetti, who was the developer, he had a breakfast at the Grand Marquis to discuss it. I want to know what was discussed there. I want to know why I wasn't invited to hear what was said there. I want to know the Alfieri property that the township fought and spent money years ago to keep that commercial property, to help with the ratables in this town and bring down the tax. There's people here talking about the water and sewer bill. Just so you know, we have nothing to do with the sewer bill. We don't have a sewer treatment plant. Let's talk about taxes. Let's talk about Board of Ed. And that's what commercial development does. But when a zoning board changes the zoning and allows 529 apartments in an area that is densely populated, that can't support the road, and causes a traffic nightmare to get on the onto the parkway, these are my concerns. My concerns are also, they had a special meeting at Alfieri. The council president and the Ward 1 representative. Why weren't we all told about it? There was an attorney there. Did he represent the town or did he represent the development? I have a lot of questions, as you could tell, just like all of you. I also want to tell you that when you talk about these apartments, not only that, public utilities, how many times in this town our electric goes out? We talk about water bills. Water bills, we have to buy water from Middlesex Water Company. It's a private utility that helps to feed water to Madison Park. You build more apartments. Where are you going to get the water supply from? I can go on and on. Senator Thompson, we talk about him. He asked councilwomen to meet with one of the developers from Avalon Bay. What is going on here? So I have a lot of questions also. And as far as the animal shelter, I've asked questions time and time again. I've asked why are volunteers turned away. I've been told I have to be quiet, I can't say things, I don't get an answer. I've asked for a simple thing. If people fill out an application, want to be a volunteer, they deserve at a minimum a response. A response. Why they are not allowed to volunteer. Or is the simple question, we have enough volunteers, we don't need one at this time, thank you for your service. A simple decency is what I am asking. So tonight, I agree with you 1,000%. You have a lot of questions, I have a lot of questions, and I will try to get any information that you need, if it's addressed towards me, I will try to get the answer for you. But as you can see, on the outside, I understand government works very strange, and this is a very difficult position for me. Very, very frustrating to me. I know they want to do the right thing. I know they want to get the right answer, but at least a response. At least I will get back to you. At least I feel your pain. So this is what we hope that we're going to change here tonight. And I hope, just as you get your questions answered someday, I hope I get mine. If not, my response is always no. Thank you.
Mrs. Walker? Excuse me. Excuse me. You're out of order. No, I'm sorry, ma'am. Excuse me. No, you're out of order. Please. Ma'am, you're out of order. Please stop. You're disrupting the audience. Ma'am, there's no secret meetings. Excuse me, ma'am. Please stop, okay? Thank you. Mrs. Walker?
Yes, Dr. Greenberg said a lot of things I had written down. I might go repeat them, so I'm sorry. First, I want to begin with the public session. I want you all to know that we do care very much, and my heart breaks. I have 2 dogs, and if that were to happen to my dog, I don't know what I would do. They're my life, as Dr. Greenberg knows, she's my vet. When you get up to speak, I just want you to know, we're not allowed to comment. We will get yelled at and gavelled down. So we do care and we want to respond, and this is our only time to respond to you. That's why I try to take notes as you're talking, so I can remember and respond to you. As far as the dog, we did not know about the dog till I walked into the chambers tonight and Madeline told me. We had no idea. The administration doesn't tell us things. There was a murder in town, I wasn't aware of it. We are really not told things that are happening. I find out from people and on Facebook about things that are happening in town. And I just want to say, I agree with Barry when he got up to speak. A lot of people come to the meeting and they say things and they leave and then nothing else happens. I feel we should make a different kind of procedure. If something's important like that, I think there was a lack of communication there. Like, you didn't know the mayor had talked to someone and there was something happening. I think when something important comes up like that, we should form like committees so that you're informed and know that something is happening and is proceeding. And I agree with you 100% that executive session should not have taken place, and we yelled that night that it wasn't fair. People come here, they have to work the next day. They didn't decide to run for an election like we did. We have to stay here. And it was wrong that we had the executive session first and that you guys had to wait such a long time and come back in, and I agree. And I think something should be done for these special needs people. I don't know who we could reach out to. Senator Sam Thompson is not very receptive to a lot of issues I've brought to him. He actually laughed at me when I told him I wanted a light on 34. So perhaps we should find a different representative that we can go to for help with this. And maybe we should form a committee so Barry and Karen would know what's happening and that it's moving forward, because we all care about special needs. I go to the Just for Kicks all the time. We donate money, and I don't want you to think for 1 minute we don't care because we don't respond. We're not allowed to, except at this time right now. Also, I want to comment on the special meeting. I had just had surgery. I was called on a Monday about the special meeting at 5 o'clock on a Thursday, 4 days later. I wasn't given an option for another date, just that one meeting Thursday, and I couldn't make it. I was not afforded the opportunity to call by phone, which another council person, Mr. Green, did. He called in, and he was able to speak. I know myself, Dr. Greenberg, and Mrs. Sohor, we were not given that opportunity. We weren't asked to comment. We are against COA. And we voted twice against, it was up here twice already and voted down. It came up for a third bite at the apple. It got voted on again when we weren't allowed to come to that 5 o'clock meeting, which, why would you have a meeting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the public isn't even home from work yet? They can't even come. I bet there was no one here. I don't even know. So as far as the COA, I have a lot of concerns, and mostly like Dr. Greenberg said with the Alfieri property. It was zoned commercial, and it was supposed to be single-family homes. There was a meeting there, and I was told that President Cahill was sent there to represent the mayor with Mr. Mollis. There was an attorney there as well. And they were told that if they didn't sign this agreement to allow these 529 apartments there, they were going to get, the judge was going to come in and change the ordinance and give them 1,000 apartments. A judge can't do that. They were afraid, and they signed the papers. Now they're very upset because now they have these 529 apartments there. And I don't know why this is, and this is very upsetting to me, and I will not support COA. And the Avalon Bay, I cannot support that as well, and that's part of the COA, because at one time Senator Thompson had asked myself and Mary to meet with the builder, and we said, no, we're not meeting with the builder, and we refused to. So we have a lot of concerns up here, as you can see, and I just want you to know, as far as the animal shelter, we are told that we're not allowed to speak about it because we'll get sued. So we have to stay quiet. We're not allowed to speak. But we do care. We care tremendously. I mean, Dr. Greenberg is doing what she can. And as far as the hours, I was told during a budget hearing, the hours were going to be increased, but then since then I heard they're not going to be. And we're just not allowed to respond. I don't want you to think for 1 minute we don't care. We're just not allowed to. And if you have any questions, please, you could reach out to me by email or phone.
Mr. Green?
It was just mentioned, there was a special meeting. I was called. I initially told them I couldn't make it. Why? I was in the hospital. And so they allowed me to talk by phone to attend the meeting by phone, because I was in the hospital. Number two, I'm very sympathetic with this incident. It's an outrage. As far as I'm concerned, the first time this happened, the owner should have gotten a heavy fine, and the dog should have been taken out. There shouldn't have been any prolonged nonsense that's going on in this community. It's absolutely absurd. The mayor said that he has to update our ordinance, and that's fine. See, we are part of the legislative body, and that's the administration. Our role specifically is to pass legislation. We have no control over individual departments, like animal control. All we can do is go to the administration and tell the administration, hey, look, we have a concern about hours or a concern about care, this and that, but it's his obligation to make sure that it's taken care of, not ours. I'm not distancing myself from this. I'm just telling you what the truth is. I'm more than willing to help anybody in this community with their needs. For instance, there's the special needs program for young men, 19 and over, young men and women. I support it, but we're not the ones to identify buildings in the township that can be used in order to support the program. If we can come up with a committee, that's fine. But ultimately, it's the administration who makes the decision as to what we're going to do, how we're going to fund it, and where we're going to do it. And getting back to the dog incident, this is the first time I've heard of this, and I'm sure most of the council members say the same thing. We just don't hear about it unless a resident calls us directly. And I feel very sorry. Like I said, there should be more focus on the owner of this dog than there has been. Actually, my son got a pit bull recently. First thing he did was he took it to training. That's what this guy should have done. They shouldn't have allowed him to walk this dog on this elastic leash or whatever it is. It's a disgrace. That man should get a heavy fine, and that dog should be removed and gone, even if he's put down immediately.
This is the third dog, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whole problem. This is the third time. This should have happened the first time. I don't know. I don't understand why it dragged on so long. And I'm very sympathetic. And again, I guess it's just the communication process. You know, the residents really don't fully know exactly how they should communicate to their local council member or at-large council member, so that we know and we can help respond to your issue. And then again, I'm very sorry. So, I'm just trying to outline exactly what our role is, as far as and how we interact with the administration. I mean, I get calls all the time, potholes. I can't go out and fix the pothole myself. I can't do that. I can't tell the Public Works Director, go out and fix this pothole tomorrow in front of such and such a street. All I can do is call him up and say, look, call him or the mayor and say, look, I got a call. There's a pothole. Do you think you can take care of it? That's all I can do. I have no authority over personnel. As a matter of fact, it's illegal under our form of government. So, but I am not distance myself from, what has happened. And again, I'm very sympathetic, and I'll do whatever I can personally to make sure this doesn't happen again, and you have a safe, clean community. Thank you.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes, I too want to say how sorry I am, and to reiterate, I know it's like a broken record, but none of us, at least I know, we did not know about it at all. This is the first time that I heard of it, and I think it's horrible. I'm supportive of whatever it takes to get this done and for you to feel safe. No community should feel that they're afraid to be outside or to walk around. That's terrible, and I am so, so sorry. I just feel bad because I'm thinking people may have thought, What happened? Why aren't you responding? Why isn't anyone coming and coming to see you and, telling you how sorry we were? Well, this is why we did not know. And I really, as I said, I feel awful about this situation. I'm a pet owner as well, and even if I wasn't, it's horrific. And we'll do whatever we can to make that better. As far as the volunteers are concerned, the same thing. They should start even a volunteer bank where if you have a number of people, fine, and then you can add to it as you go along. So we have to continue to fight for that for you. Also, as far as special meeting, I don't know what the criteria was for a phone hookup because I was not offered one. So I don't know how that came about, but I would have liked to have at least had the opportunity to speak because I feel the same way. I really am not in favor of COA, and I had a lot of reasons and a lot of concerns. So I really think that if you're going to offer it, you should offer it to everyone.
Councilmember comments? Mr. Rosencrantz?
Mr. and Mrs. Morris, my sympathies for the loss of Shaggy. I could just envision, Dave, when you described this scene, how horrific it was, and unfortunately it happened. It should not have happened. That dog should have not been there. And it's sad that the residents in that area have to be afraid for their children, their wives, their mothers, and whoever. That dog hopefully will be removed and be put away somewhere far. As for the COA, that special meeting, I believe, needed to be done on a time frame that was based upon what the court ordered us to do. So the attorney could elaborate on that. And again, my sympathies.
Mrs. Dungy, do you have anything to say? Or we'll go around the room.
I concur with the other council members to Mr. and Mrs. Morris. I have owned dogs in the past, and I love them dearly, and they really are part of the family. And I am so sorry that you went through what you did, and I offer my sympathy to you.
Mr. Mollison?
Yeah, just myself too, the same feelings. This is the first I've heard about this. I too, our family have owned dogs all our lives. I mean, my daughter and son don't live with us anymore, and they haven't for years, but they have animals. My wife and I live alone, so we don't have any animals anymore. But I sympathize with you. I'm very sorry.
Okay. I'll close the council comment portion out. Just a couple of issues. I too would like to express my condolences on the loss of your dog. I am also a pet owner. I've actually adopted a dog at the Old Bridge Animal Shelter. Happens to be a pit bull. He's a sweetheart. He's a good dog, and I just can't imagine what you folks went through. It must have been just horrible. And sincerely, I express my sincere condolences. I'm very, very sorry about what happened. I do take the mayor at his word that he'll investigate this and try and get to the bottom of it. I think we have to let the man at least do what he needs to do. I understand there's frustration in the room, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to run the meeting as well, folks, okay? I know there's a lot of emotion, okay, but I have to run the meeting. And so if I gavel folks down, please don't take it personally, but it could just go sideways, okay? So that's my rationale around that. There are a couple comments made, and I just really want to address this. Dr. Greenberg talked about being gavelled down and not being allowed to speak. Mrs. Walker made the same comment. Look, I'm following the agenda. The agenda is set up for a reason. The council follows it so we can get through the meeting. There's a preliminary public portion part of this where you guys get to speak to us. And then we have a portion we can respond. That's the way the meeting's structured, and that's the way I run it. And it's been run that way for a long time. It's not that people can't speak, but if we went back and forth, it would get a little out of control, so there's a structure. If the council wants to change it, the council can change it, but right now, those are the rules of the council, okay? There was a reference about a meeting at Bridgepoint that took place, completely misconstrued and completely wrong about what occurred. I was invited, excuse me, Mrs. Walker, I didn't speak when you were speaking. Okay? Okay. I was invited to Bridgepoint with the mayor, Mr. Mollis, to talk about the COA and the Alfieri project. All we did was we talked about what was on the table. There were no deals made, there was nothing to sign, it wasn't a secret meeting. So I don't know why the council people weren't invited. I have no idea. I was invited and I spoke and I gave my opinion about what was going on. Period, end of story. I don't like being misrepresented. you know, a lot of discussion about the shelter tonight. There was some comments about what we can and can't say. Quite frankly, I mean, we've been advised by our attorneys that there's certain things we can't say. And I think we're being responsible council people. We might not like it, but we're responsible by letting the process kind of work itself out in the way the process should be. So, again, I just want to close by saying, I really want to thank, you have a great community, by the way, all the neighbors that showed up to express their concerns. That's really a testament to your community and the folks in Old Bridge. And I know there's a lot of emotion. I know people are very upset. And the other gentleman, his dog was hurt as well. I'm very sorry for that as well. But let's let the process, and there was a lot of wounds. Let's let the process work itself out. I have every confidence in the mayor that we're going to get this thing straightened out to the best of our ability. To the mayor's point, we have to follow the law. Okay, we can't circumvent the law. So with that, I'll close the council member comments. There will be another part at the end where people can comment at the end of the meeting. But I'm going to close the council member comments right now, and we'll move on to the rest of the meeting. We have reported the township clerk.
Not at this time.
We reported the township attorney.
None at this time.
Administrative report, Mr. Shah. Or is it the mayor?
I'll give it to Council President.
Thank you.
I'll give the condensed version. You all have a copy of it?
Yep.
Okay, grand opening of business. Yesterday, I was at the new owners for the General Saloon on Englishtown Road. They've promised me the recipe for the pizza has not changed, so I encourage anyone to visit the new owners and visit the establishment, the General Saloon on Englishtown Road. The Old Bridge CHP installation, in other words, the air conditioning system in the senior center and recreation building is complete and up and running. That's a good thing. We were a couple of weeks without air conditioning.
Hold on one second, Mr. Mayor. We have to, if you guys are going to leave, you have to clear the room. We're conducting the meeting, okay? Okay, next, Mr. Mayor.
I can continue. Thank you, Council President. Also of note is that part of that new install is a CHP unit that can generate 35 kW of power. It's calculated to produce, 184,842 kilowatts of power annually, and that's going to will obtain about $22,000 in savings alone just with that new unit. Jersey Central Power and Light, First Energy 24/7 Power Center. Old Bridge customers who lose power for any reason during the summer months should call JCP&L directly at 1-888-LIGHTS to report an outage. For updated information on existing or on power outages that are, occurring, service issues, storm restoration, or important safety tips, residents should also visit the JCP&L First Energy 24/7 Power Center at firstenergycorp.com. Our 2017 street sweeping program, the Department of Public Works began sweeping the streets on April 10th, and we will continue to do that through October 30th. Each ward will have the street sweeping 5 different times during this period. For the street sweeping schedule, residents should contact the Department of Public Works at 732-721-5600, extension 6107, where they can visit the township's website. I'm glad to say that commuter parking lot improvements are complete. The Township's Engineering Department has completed and reopened the Inverness Drive commuter parking lot. Old Bridge residents with valid 2017 parking stickers are permitted to resume parking at the Inverness commuter parking lot. Vehicles are not permitted to park along the Inverness Drive unless they have a resident parking permit. For parking permits, residents should contact the Clerk's Department at 732-721-5600, extension 2200, or visit the Township website. Affordable housing summary. CGP&H provides administrative agent services for the 47 ownership units at Old Bridge Township's affordable housing portfolio. Currently, there are 3,514 residents on a waiting list to purchase an affordable home in Old Bridge. Applicants may apply online at affordableHomesNewJersey.com. 2 affordable homes currently have been sold in the last 12 months, and 1 is up for sale now. Other activities include monitoring 4 homes in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure and completing annual mailing to all homeowners. the Think Old Bridge Property Tax Rewards Program. The first year of the Think Old Bridge Property Tax Rewards Program concluded on April 30th. On June 7th, 2017, the township received $7,307.56 to be applied to the August property tax installment for 494 property owners who participated last year in the Think Old Bridge Property Tax Reward Program. The highest tax credit was $160.11. In addition, there were 53 registered families who are renters or live out of town who also participated in the program. Those persons received a rebate check. For more information on the Think Old Bridge Property Tax Reward Program or to pick up a card, please visit the Office of Economic Development, which is located on the first floor in the administrative building. Come to the mayor's office. New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Blue Acres Program. The NJDEP Superstorm Sandy Blue Acres team began extending buyout offers to homeowners in Old Bridge in April of 2015. A total of 29 buyout offers have been extended up to date. 26 of the 29 offers have been accepted. Hard copies of the July 3rd NJDEP Old Bridge Buyout Status Summary Report have been forwarded to the Township Clerk's office for distribution to council. My clean team this past Saturday and volunteers from the Old Bridge Community Emergency Response Team, Rutgers University, the Labor and Employment Relations Association, Old Bridge Lightning Gold Baseball Team, Boy Scouts Troop 36, Old Bridge Lightning U12 Baseball Team, and the Old Bridge U9 Punishers Soccer Team. Clean litter on Cheesequake Road, Marlborough Road, Birch Street, Veterans Park, and Sandfield Road. For additional information, residents should contact the Clean Communities Coordinator at 732-721-5600, extension 6107. PSC&G Paving is paving in Madison Park, Southwood, and South Old Bridge communities. PSC&G is in the process of completing the gas infrastructure updates within Old Bridge Townships, Madison Park, Southwood, and South Old Bridge communities. PSC&G contractors have began the pavement restoration activities on June 26th, with an anticipated completion set for the end of July, weather permitting. For future plans or updates, residents should contact the township's website, or they can call the mayor's office or the engineering department if they have any questions. Third quarter tax payments. The Township Division of Tax Collection will be open Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 a.m., 5 p.m. during the third quarter tax collection period. The tax office will also be open between the hours of 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. on Saturday, August 5th, and between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. on August 10th. For more information, residents should contact the Division of Tax Collection, 732-721-5600, extension 2999. Saltwater Day is fast approaching, will be held on August 12th from 2 p.m. to dusk at the Old Bridge Waterfront Park in Lawrence Harbor. The event will feature crafts, foods, games, live entertainment, and fireworks. For additional information about this event, residents should contact the Department of Parks and Recreation, 732-721-5600, extension 4999, or again, visit the Township website. The Old Bridge Energy Aggregation Program. The Township Consultant Gable Associates will be conducting an auction sometime in the middle of August for the second round of Energy Aggregation Program, continuing to build on the success of the first round, where overall Township residents saved over $2 million on their energy cost. An ordinance authorizing renewing the program is on the agenda for introduction. Council President, that concludes the administrative report. If any council people have any questions on those topics or any other topic, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any questions for the mayor on the administrative report?
Can I just make a comment?
Mr. Rosencrantz.
On item 7, the Old Bridge Property Tax Reward Program. Mayor, you mentioned in your report that there was only 494 property owners who took advantage of that program. I think people need to really realize the benefit of doing business in Old Bridge and taking every opportunity to save some money and give business to the businesses in town so that we could grow. 494 property owners plus some 53 registered families. We have a whole lot more property owners and families that can do business in Old Bridge and take advantage of this program.
Thank you. Any other comments on the administrative report? Mrs. Sohar.
Yes, just one thing. On the affordable housing, here it says there are 3,514 people who would like to purchase a home in Old Bridge. Well, what we did with COA was approve apartments, not myself, but there you see, we want home ownership versus just rental. So this brings it home to me that we really do need to provide affordable housing that you can purchase.
Any other comments on the administrative report? Motion to accept the administrative report?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I have a second, please? Second. Second by Mrs. Dungy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Council President Cahill?
Yes.
9 yes.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Tonight we have items C1 through C24. Can I get a motion to introduce before I go to the public?
Move it.
Moved by Mrs. Walker. Sohar, sorry. Can't hear you guys down there. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Before I ask for separations, anybody from the public want to be heard on items C1 through C24 on the consent agenda? I'll close the public portion. Council, we have separations. This is Dr. Greenberg?
C4.
C4.
Give me one second. C4, C6, C8, C9, and C11.
C9 and C11? You said C11, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Walker, you have?
I don't think she said C7, correct?
She did not.
Okay, I'll do C7.
Oh, C7, I was wanting to talk about that. Okay, that's all right, I'll talk about it.
Any other separations?
Yes, C2,
Mr. Green, C2.
C14, and C18.
It was C7.
Mrs. Dungy, do you have your hand up?
Yes, but he
Okay. Yep, we'll be able to speak on it. Any other separations from council?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Miles?
C21.
C21. Is that all the separations? So I'll just go over the body. So I'll be asking for a motion to move the body, which is C1, C3, C5, C10, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. Is that correct? Motion to move the balance, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Green. Have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Rosencrantz. Motion, roll call on the balance, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Council President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Mr. Green, C2?
Yeah, I may have missed it, but was there a hearing, a public hearing on the community development block grant?
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Mayor, anybody? Nicole?
Councilman Green, there was a public comment period that was 30 days, and I think it started between April 2nd and May 2nd was a 30-day review period. There were 2 public meetings in this room that were on both those nights that started I can't remember the exact dates. It's April, first week of April, first week of May. Nobody showed up.
Nobody showed up, so no comments.
No comments. My memo attached in Novus does give a breakdown of the projects that we have slated for 2017.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on C2? I get a motion on C2, please? I'll move it. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second, Mr. Rosencrantz. Roll call on C2.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C4, Dr. Greenberg?
Okay. C4 is litigation between the Township, Vandrell Chevalier versus Old Bridge Zoning Board, and to pay the attorney. I always feel a professional or anyone who does the work should get paid, but I do have concerns with this. First of all, when I was at that zoning board meeting, I was there and I spoke as a resident, and initial piece of property that they were discussing was less than 2 acres, and we have an ordinance in town that you have to have a minimum of 2 acres to have a septic tank. So the public spoke, and Chevaliers came up to discuss this. But the Chevaliers hired an attorney to speak on their behalf. And while they were at the zoning board meeting, the zoning board attorney did not allow the attorney to speak. And so very disconcerting to me when a resident, first of all, takes the time to come to a meeting, second of all, to pay an attorney to speak on their behalf, and then wasn't afforded the time or the courtesy to ask questions and get the responses that they needed. So there was litigation that began. My opinion also during this zoning board meeting is that it was going to be a creeping subdivision. And I was told it was not, but it certainly is. And now there are several more houses that will be built, and now it's going to come back for more. And there were concerns that I brought up about the traffic on the road. That road is like a little narrow cow path to begin with. It hasn't had improvements. I don't know, I've been here for 24 years, and there's problems, but also it was an environmentally sensitive piece of property. But with that said, so they went to court where there was litigation, and in fact, the judge also said, and I wasn't even aware of this till I got the numbers, that the judge said 11 times that Ms. Chevalier's attorney was asked that he couldn't speak. Well, that was the purpose of him coming there, was to represent his client and to present his case at the zoning board before the zoning board members could make a decision on the project. But the strange thing is that we're seeing it now on the consent agenda, when a year ago that the Chevaliers decided to drop their case against the town in litigation. They couldn't afford litigation to go forward because they had problems with the people who originally owned the property, and there were concerns there that they were dealing with that litigation. So it's very sad that someone takes the time to come to a meeting, has representation, and wasn't afforded the ability to speak. So with that said, a year ago, the Chevaliers dropped their litigation. So I just have to question, why a year later is the bill here now asking for approval when a whole year has gone by? So with my comments, I'm asking the administration if they have any information on that.
At this point, I don't believe, Nicole, do we have any information? Yeah, Nicole can respond.
Councilwoman Belli, I'm just looking at the file that I had submitted with the backup information provided by our planning board secretary at the time, who's also an administrative aide in our planning department, who takes care of our billings. The bill was actually from September 2016, February 2017, March 2017, March 2017, March 2017, and March 2017. So there's about 6 different line items from the attorney that represents on our zoning board. Usually when the matter is then finalized, do they send in their bill so that they're not constantly billing us for the same matter over and over, and we see trickles coming in, basically. So he probably just held off so that he can have his total time submitted. And from what I see, the total represents probably about 5 hours. He's even put increments of 0.3 hours, you know, when he sends in his bill. I know there was a Superior Court case, and from what I have in the backup that I had provided, the case was dismissed, but it did go to court, and the filing number was docket number C-210-15, in which it says here that the summary judgment seeking the dismissal of the plaintiff's complaint and for all other relief sought by the defendant. So I think why you're seeing it now is because he was basically waiting for some sort of conclusion or to kind of lead us to a bill, basically.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other comments on C4? Mr. Attorney?
Yeah. Just so the record's clear, the Chevaliers did not dismiss their complaint. It was dismissed by motion of the court, and I believe it was Judge Ciafani dismissed it as frivolous litigation.
Do I have a motion? I need a motion on C4, please. I'll move it. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosencrantz. Roll call on C4.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Abstain.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker?
No.
Council President Cahill?
Yes.
5 yes, 1 no, 2 abstention.
Okay. C6, Dr. Greenberg? You didn't
Actually, I
wanna
meant
separate?
C7, but Ms. Walker brought that
So
forward.
you didn't need to
yeah.
separate it?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any comments on C6? We have to move it. Okay. Can I have a motion on C6, please? Moved by Mrs.
Second.
Sohar? Second by Dr. Greenberg. Roll call on C6.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
7 yes.
C7, Mrs. Walker and/or Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, I just wanted to find out exactly what this is about. Is this from 5 years ago, when we first started doing the energy savings program?
That's correct. It's the Energy Savings Improvement Program that was authorized, well, we started about 5 years back, but ultimately authorized about 3 years back. The council authorized $4 million in bonds that was, and then awarded a contract to Tozer Energy for performing, as a ESCO contractor to complete the projects. Number of issue has arisen since, start of the program. We had success with some programs. We have some difficulties that we're dealing with it. There were some, there were obviously, whenever you have such type of program, there's going to be difficulty arise naturally, but also there are some issues with the engineering designs that came to light during the construction phase, so we're dealing with that. And there's going to be additional change orders and more information ultimately bringing to the council, because we do believe that we are going to exceed $4 million threshold that was set up at the time. So, but at this point, the final phase of the HVAC system replacement for senior center and the recreation center is now pretty much complete, is in final, inspection mode, and so I think those things are operating as of now, and so we're recommending the contractor who performed the work to be paid, and we need this change order to to be able to pay him.
Yeah, it just seems like it's been taking an awful long time to complete this. I don't have a problem with people getting paid, but it's just been taking a long time.
It's been somewhat painful to deal with it.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes, I have several concerns. First of all, since it's on the agenda and it's asking for an increase, could you please, we'll start initially with why is there an increase?
Well, as I indicated, currently, the final contract is for the mechanical contract. When we did an ESCO contract that was awarded for $3,647,000, which includes the ESCO fees and all different projects that was originally approved. ESIP it's a project that is approved by the township, but also by the BPU is involved. There are a number of reviews that gone through the process, and obviously the timing is an issue. But at the end, the mechanical contract and original project estimate, we have far exceeded that. We did save, a couple of other projects, for example, lighting, but the mechanical contract is far exceeded for a number of issues that arise during that. And I don't want to sugarcoat it, but there were natural problems that occurred during the construction phase, but also there are engineering issues that arise, there were design issues that arise. Once we started the project, we could not stop it. We could not, take it back and go halfway. So we needed to complete the project. And as such, we have an additional cost that the contractor who actually performed the work, AMCO, I believe it's AMCO, who need to be paid because it's a legitimate charges from him and a various change order.
My concern stems right from the get-go with this project, that the contract was delayed for possibly 3 to 4 years. And so by doing that, we lost out on incentives. So what I really want to know was, what was the anticipated incentive money? And because of those delays, what is the incentive now?
Well, I don't have the exact number of incentive, but we haven't lost that incentive. The incentive will realize, and BPU will pay us once we submit all the report and produce that savings that was originally planned that gave us incentive. There is a submission process and there's a timing process, and eventually we'll recover those money. So I believe there were about $212,000 of incentive that we are to be entitled to under this project. And we believe that we will achieve those incentives. But that can only be filed once we complete all the project. We file a report with BPU showing that there is an energy savings. It's not the dollar, but the energy consumption savings that is generated. Those has to be proved to the BPU with the report, and Tozer has to file those report with the BPU, and then we'll receive the incentive.
Yes, but we did lose incentives because the state changed the incentive policy since we did this proposal. But not only that, at one time, the air conditioning was included at the library, and now that's been taken out. So
correct.
what else was initially on the initial list that is now taken out of the proposal?
Well, there was about 5 or 6 additional project that has not been done, and we do not believe we're going to go forward with it. But I will have a complete report to the council because there is additional fees. The ESCO fee still has to be paid. There may be an additional change order that we have not seen from the current contractor that will have to be finalized and then bring it to the council's attention. But that will be at the end. And also, keep in mind that the council only authorized $4 million in bonds. So we're not going to be able to exceed, this doesn't exceed the $4 million amount. We're still within the $4 million. There's going to be additional funding required, and a council action will be required. So we'll be bringing to the council, including the ESCO, will be here to make a presentation and provide, all the information that council needs. But this is essential because the contractor who performed the work, should be paid. We believe he has done work that was required, and the change orders are thoroughly reviewed by our Public Works Department that we need to pay him to, for his services.
Okay, but the original contract, there was a cancellation of that. Then there was a new contract. And so by this delay, the project lost a lot of energy conservation projects. And I think one of the things that is concerning to me, that there wasn't an engineer that really was looking out for the township and was in the best interest of the township. They weren't hired by the township, working for the township with this project. They were actually working for Tozer. And so that was very awkward, because usually you have an engineer, you bid for a project, you have a project, the engineer that we hire that represents the town really oversees this project, and I think a lot of things would have been avoided. And one of the concerns, obviously, was the senior center and the rec. They were in the hottest time of the year without air conditioning. So these are a lot of red flags in this project, and it really started from the beginning that I was not satisfied at all, because it was a great project, and we were going to reap many benefits from it, and had many incentives, and it was delayed for 3 to 4 years. And now, this was when this administration first took over, and now we are, 5 years into it. So it's very frustrating to me, because I know the state policy changed, so I don't know, whether you realize it or not, we did lose a lot of incentives, and the library air conditioning could have been done under this.
Councilwoman, I think we did not lose incentive, because our incentive was approved. There is a long and lengthy process that BPU require us to, before we go into construction phase. There are a number of engineers review was performed. Now, we chose, there was 2 options, if it's self-managed project or ESCO. And at some point, because of the issues related to the BPU requirement, the ESCO process was chosen, and we went out for bid for the ESCO. We had 4 or 5 ESCO companies that bid on it. Tozer had the lowest responsible price for the fees for the services. And so I don't know, when you said that we haven't lost, they changed, yes, they may have changed their process of incentive now, but we were locked in when we initially applied for that. So whatever incentive we were awarded about 3 or 4 years back, we're still entitled to. Once we prove that we have achieved the energy savings that, was promised as part of was engineering design has indicated. And once we prove that that has been achieved, then we'll be able to receive those incentives. We haven't been lost. And I agree with you that it's been very frustrating for us. We had many, many meetings. It's not a traditional process that we normally go through where we bid, we have engineer who design and report to us, but technically, Tozer is the engineering firm that is contracted by us to manage the project. So it's the same approach, but it is an approach that is under the BPU, under the guideline of this entire ESIP process. And so it's been difficult, yes, agree. We have been we've been dealing with this for the last 3 years, and many, many hours of input of our staff into that. So I agree with you in that. But I think, when Tozer is in front of the body to discuss for additional change order or for their fees, certainly it's time to raise those issues. But I urge you to pass this change order, because it is directly related to the contractor who is performing the services.
And council, it's still important to realize that this project is going to be paid from savings. This is budget neutral. The original project, we estimated around $4 million. So far, as Himanshu, referred to, some of the problems that we faced were subterranean, that pipes on the ground existed that were not shown on drawings. When we crossed the courtyard, a major, rerouting had to occur. The original preliminary engineering didn't pick that up, nor there was, as I said, no drawings to show that there. We ran into some subterranean issues on the side of the senior center, where that slab that's supporting the new equipment was delayed for almost 2 months because it had to be re-engineered. The soil just wasn't, the soil wasn't capable of bearing the weight of that piece of equipment, or multiple pieces of equipment, so that had to be re-engineered. And as Himanshu said, we can't sugarcoat it. The preliminary engineering just wasn't, I'm not going to say what it should have been, but it was preliminary engineering. Field conditions warranted some field changes that required additional engineering, and it's not something we can stop halfway through and say we're not going to finish the project. But under the ESCO, savings are going to pay for the project over the next 20 years. So that's We knew it was going to be a complex project. This equipment that we're replacing has been here since day one. It's like if you were going to put an addition on your house or something major around, and the contractor opens up the wall and finds your sills are termite infested. Should he have picked that up before he gave you the price when he put your addition on? I don't know. So it's very complex. It is, and there's no one more frustrated than us as we sit in the room across from the people and they try to, BS us, and we tell, no. We're in the business. We know what we're doing. We know what to expect. Certainly, if you look at the percentage, it's really not a lot of the big scene of the big project for what has occurred.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. And if I could just have the date when the contract was signed, the one that we're working off of, that would be great. And it is true, just like you said, you don't know what's under the ground. And what year was this complex built?
75, 6, middle 70s.
Okay, so I would like everyone to take that into account, and then also take into account all the water lines and sewer lines under the town. And this is why you have to pay attention to infrastructure. So a lot of times people think they're just paying for water, they're paying for infrastructure. And you don't know what happens till you dig up that ground. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments on C7? Do I have a motion? I need a motion on C7, please. Moved by Dr. Greenberg. Can I have a second, please? I'll second it. Roll call on C7.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
Yes.
C8, Dr. Greenberg.
C8 is shared services between the Township of Old Bridge and the Old Bridge Board of Education, and it's for our officers, and I just think it's important that we have an explanation and a breakdown on this. It's $531,162. So if the administration could give a short synopsis of this little report, I'd appreciate it.
This is a third renewal of this shared services. It's been an extremely successful program, and I think it's been followed by many other towns now, where our police department provides a security personnel for the school. And this is something that school has wanted, and in fact, school has approved this shared service agreement. And this is a 3-year agreement with that will provide 3 police officers during the school, and I believe 8 special twos are recruited to provide security services in school, and it's being reimbursed by the school. The total, while we are $531,000 is what the school is going to reimburse us, but Township also has invested money. There's a 25% contribution from the Township for the security, so that there is additional cost, but it's part of our annual budget. So I think, it's been very successful, and if there's any other questions that you want me to.
So we allot so many officers per all the schools, so they patrol all the schools?
I don't think it's that we should be discussing numbers.
No, I don't want to know. I just want to know that the coverage is there.
We provide coverage for our before and after care also. So it's not only our public school systems. It's anywhere learning takes place in Old Bridge, but we will not discuss numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on C8?
Sure, I'd like to comment. I think it's a good thing that we're protecting the kids, the schools, everybody in the schools, in the school buildings at the time, and we sharing that with the Board of Ed and the Township. The taxpayers or ratepayers, they're paying the Board of Ed, the education, municipal, and it's all coming for the benefit of the residents and the kids.
And Council, that, as Himanshu said, is being modeled all over the state, what we're doing here in Old Bridge.
Mr. Attorney, wanted to comment?
Yeah, just, you should be clear that this is the amount not to exceed the cost of the Board of Ed, because the contracts for law enforcement increase every year based on their contracts. So that's why you see the numbers increase. That's not what it's costing the township. That's what the Board of Ed is budgeting to cover all of the security measures and everything else that go into this program.
10 minutes.
Any other comments on C8? Mrs. Sohar?
Yeah, I also just want to say that I think it's very good that we do the shared services, that we communicate with the Board of Ed, and that we have a very good relationship right now with them. It's very important that the town works together as a whole.
Yep, I concur. We have a good relationship, and I think this is a good program. Any other comments? I need a motion on, moved by Dr. Greenberg, second by Mrs. Sohar. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C9, Dr. Greenberg. Okay, we need, anybody else have any comments on C9? Dr. Greenberg moved it, we need a second. I'll second it. Mr. Green seconded it. Roll call on C9.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Council President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C11, Dr. Greenberg, one change I'll make, with the word registered should say recreation, just FYI. I know you separated this, but in the middle of the second sentence, where it says registered, it should say recreation, just FYI.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
You separated that, C11?
Yes, I did. I just want an explanation on this and the use of the $900,000.
Okay?
So the recreation open space is an inventory list that we township maintains, and so is the state. Green Acres maintains the list. The list has to be approved by the township, and now they have a new requirement where besides the mayor signs the list, that also planning board chairman has to be signed off, and we have to maintain those open space inventory as an open space as required. The $900,000 is for the Cottrell Farm, the grant, the Green Acres grant, that we are to get that. That's the final balance. The total grant was $1.7 million. We already received $800,000. But this $900,000 is contingent of our final RASI submissions, approved submission list. The list has been reviewed by Nicole and the planning department, and has been gone through a review by the Green Acres and approval. So now, we're gonna get the balance of $900,000 that we invested for the acquisition of Cottrell Farm.
Thank you so much for that explanation.
Any other comments on C11? Be great to see Cottrell Farm starting to move in the right direction. I need a motion on C11, please. Moved by Dr. Greenberg. I need a second.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Sohar. Roll call, please, on C11.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C14, Mr. Green.
I know what this is about, but I just want somebody to highlight it so the residents know that when the fourth quarter tax is due, anyone who pays after the 10th of the month is subject to a tax lien. So if somebody would give a little more detail on that, just
Our
as a
tax
presentation
collector.
to anyone who's here or listen, or watch it on TV.
For the past, I guess now it's been about 9 years, we've held an accelerated tax sale here in Old Bridge due to declining collection rates in the past. So with an accelerated tax sale, it's held within the current year. So once the November quarter comes, after the 10th or the last day of the grace period, we automatically begin the tax sale process. This tends to anger a lot of people. We do try and get the notification out here, so I thank you for, highlighting this. Our tax bills will be going out at the end of the week, and there is a letter enclosed in the tax bill that that does, notify, puts all the residents on notice that this can happen. If you don't pay all 4 quarters of the current year, if you owe back charges with the MUA, with them you do get several notices from them before they turn it over here. Added and omitteds are also eligible, which are billed in October. But yes, if your current year taxes aren't paid up by November 10th, then they could be eligible for the accelerated tax sale, which would be held in December.
Yeah, normally, there's an interest charge after the 10th, but with the accelerated tax lien, when this happens to an individual, there's also a fee involved.
There's
in order to
additional
remove
tax sale
themselves.
fees. Those are set by state statute. It's 2% of the amount due, minimum $15, maximum $100. There's also, with the accelerated tax sale process, we utilize the in lieu of mailing charges, which is also by statute, and that's $25 per mailing in lieu of 2 weeks' worth of advertisement in the newspaper.
Okay, thank you very much. That's fair, fair warning to those who don't pay the November taxes on time.
Any other comments on C14 from the council? Need a motion, please, on C14? I'll move it. Can I have a second, please?
Second?
Second by Mrs. Dungy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C18, Mr. Green.
This is a contract for the extension of Human Resources Information System to Prime Point. All fees will be paid by the bank. I'm not sure what fees they've been paying along.
The bank always paid the fees for our payroll services. The Prime Point provides us a payroll as well as human resources services. And for this, fees are covered by the compensating balance paid by the bank. So we want to indicate that. It's about $40,000 in a price range. So we need council to authorize renewal contract. This is an extension of the contract. If you recall, 2 years back, we went out for bid and we awarded the contract to Prime Point. And in the past, we used to have an ADP provide the services. The ADP services were at a higher cost and didn't include the human resource component, but Prime Point is provided a lower cost with additional services.
What is the human resources information, what do they provide?
It's the application tracking system that we have, tracking of employee informations. Give you just a simple example that now the system tracks the various licenses, their renewal requirement is built into the system. Salary adjustments are tracked with that system. It's not just a plain payroll system where we provide the hours worked and, receive the check. It's a lot more information. And any organization that needs pretty much our size of organization, we need a good human resource system.
So those employees that require a certain license to hold their job, they track that and they track the, whether or
Those are
not the
tracking the
individuals
system.
takes the CE continuing education courses to maintain that license?
Correct.
As far as the no fee, is that because Prime Point invests the money that they may receive from the township as far as payroll?
No. The bank, banking relationship we have that covers, the bank provides the fees. And this has been a practice in place for Old Bridge even before I became the CFO for the town. So it's over 25 years where bank has paid for the payroll services.
Is there any way that they do that? Do they get money in some way in order for them to do this?
Well, obviously, their compensating balances, they look at the account analysis of our investment. Obviously, when we invest money with the bank.
Okay, so it's money that they also
Right, they share
gain
some of their
through
earnings.
the investments?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else want to discuss C18? Need a motion on C18? I'll move it. I have a second, please.
Second.
Second, Mr. Mollis. Roll call on 18, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
C21, Mr. Mollis.
Yes, I just want to say I'm very happy to see this project moving along. It's been a sort of a thorn in everybody's side for a long time. Nicole, do you have any, or Ms. Shapiro, do you have any idea when this project might be starting?
Excuse me.
If council acts favorably tonight, we should have contracts out, and probably within 30 days, we should have the contractor out there.
Very good.
So summer 2017.
Thank you.
Any other comments on C21? Motion on C21, please.
Make a motion.
Mr.
I'll
Mollis
second
moved it. Mr. Green seconded it. Roll call on C21.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar? Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
That concludes the consent agenda. Ordinances for first reading, FR1, accepting all private roadways from Old Bridge Manor Country Place. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mrs. Sohar, second by Dr. Greenberg. Roll call on FR1.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
No.
Mr. Mollis?
No.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
6 yes, 2 no.
FR2, authorizing the continuation of the Government Energy Aggregation Program. Can I have a motion, please? I'll move it. Can I have a second? Mr. Green, second. Roll call on FR2.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
That concludes first reading ordinances. Moving on to public comments on any subject matter. Yes, you had your hand up first, Sue, and then we'll go to Lisa. And then everybody can come on up and talk. How's that? Is it on? I don't think it's on.
Who wants to sit? She could use this mic.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sue Ann Ing from 215 Yorkshire Court.
All right, next.
215 Yorkshire Court. An ACO phoned me on June 4th, pleading with me to come back to volunteer to again walk the dogs. There are currently no volunteers taking them out on a consistent basis. The current volunteers come sporadically. They do not come every day or every weekend. The ACO said that all I needed to do was to fill out and sign a new volunteer application, which would be added to my existing application already on file from 4 years ago. At that time, I had already passed a background check and was approved to volunteer. I filled out and signed the updated application and gave it to one of the ACOs to add to my file. I was able to start on June 18th. That weekend, I took pictures of 3 dogs named Canister, Phoebe, and Roxy, and they were posted within a few days into a slideshow video by Ms. Jeffries and was shared all over Facebook. Shortly after that, the original owner recognized Phoebe and came to reclaim her. Phoebe is now home where she belongs. Ms. Jeffries needed many pictures to create individual video slideshows, slideshow videos for each animal, and now
Mary?
that will also.
The mic's coming down. We're having trouble, yeah. Sorry, so we won't be able to hear you at home. Thank you, Mary. There you go.
Ms. Jeffries needed many pictures to create individual slideshow videos for each animal, and that will now once again come to a stop if I am banned from coming to the shelter. One picture for each animal here and there on social media is not enough to show the public. This weekend, I was told by the ACO that the shelter coordinator, Ms. Chen, has banned me from the animal shelter. Why? I have done nothing wrong but take pictures, take the dogs out and do meet and greets, just like the meet and greet I did to introduce Knuckles to Council President Craig Cahill and his family over 2 years ago. Ms. Chen's reason for me to not come back was I need to be approved. And 2, I need orientation. First, I'd like to know what I need approval for. I've already gone through a background check and was already approved 4 years ago, and I have not committed any crime since. Second, what kind of orientation do I need? I've been volunteering at the Old Bridge Animal Shelter for the past 4 years. If things have changed, just tell me what it is, and I will follow accordingly. Also keep in mind, I'm only there on the weekends. Ms. Chen does not work on the weekends. So who's giving me orientation? According to this schedule, this will never happen. Many applications have been submitted to volunteer at our shelter, and many have not been approved yet, and many are still waiting for a response. The comment everyone is receiving from Ms. Chen is she's waiting to gather enough people to provide one orientation. Weeks and months have already gone by. This process is hurting every animal in the shelter. It seems that Ms. Chen is punishing all the animals because she has a vendetta against the experienced volunteers. Why is this allowed to happen? Why is the administration letting this happen? Why is one person allowed to ruin the reputation of the Old Bridge Animal Shelter? Now the atmosphere in the shelter is one of anger and hostility. The bottom line is the animals are not receiving the treatment they deserve. For hours on end, they are locked up in their kennels. The ACOs do the best they can do. The volunteers get paid nothing and care only for the welfare of the animals. Things need to change at the Old Bridge Animal Shelter.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You had your hand up? You had your hand up? Lisa? Yeah.
It's terrible. Lisa Lent Miller, 37 Terrell Road. You all know me by now. Have a couple of just quick comments and questions. The TNR committee, has anything been done with that? Has that been formed? I was actually contacted by Chris Marion several times to get the ordinance from other townships to work on it, revise it, and submit it, but nobody has contacted me to be part of this committee, nor any other volunteer, prior or current. And I would like to know, we were useful to get the ordinance here, but not good enough to be part of it once you all passed it? I'm not sure. Are you setting it up to fail? Or do you not really want it to work? But I guess I shouldn't be shocked that we don't get respect because you guys don't give each other respect up there. Well, each of you is speaking, others are rolling their eyes, leaning back, closing their eyes, rocking. If you can't pay attention to each other, why should I be shocked that you're not listening to a single thing we're saying? And second comment is, someone said that the process is working itself out in reference to the animal shelter. I think the days of closing your eyes, covering your ears, and crossing your fingers is long past. You actually have to start doing something. If nothing changes, nothing changes. You guys aren't learning from your mistakes. Fix something. There was dogs being attacked here. The animal shelter coordinator and staff did nothing to help them. The administration's doing nothing. Why? What are you guys voted in for? What is your job? What are we paying you for? To do nothing? You could do that for free and sit home. You don't have to be representing us if that's the case. I know none of you could answer me, but I wanted to say that, and I'll be back next meeting to say it again. Thank you.
Mr. Morrow, and then we'll go to the lady in yellow, and then to you as well, okay?
Dave Merwin, 842 Summerfield Avenue, Lawrence Harbor. I got a couple of questions maybe the administration can answer. Pirates Cove building, I hear that it's being slated to be demoed very shortly. You're going out to bid. Was there ever any FEMA money or insurance money for that building?
I don't believe that there is any, I mean, there was insurance money or a FEMA, huh?
Minimum money.
Minimum amount of money received from the FEMA for that building. I believed there was a request for the demolition. They did not approve those. So,
Well, I would hope that that little bit of money remains in Clipwood Beach for recreational purposes, since they're losing that building down there. The public really wanted it, and I understand your reasoning.
Dave, it was a while ago, obviously. We collected some insurance money on the building because of the damage and allowed us to go in and take the sheetrock down, do some minor. The building was not insured and the only way we'd be able to get FEMA money is if we were to rebuild the building, but it would have to be rebuilt to standard, so it would be about 15 feet in the air. And it wouldn't serve any purpose at 15 feet in the air.
You need an elevator.
Yeah, so, just one of them
I understand,
unfortunate
but if there is
incidents.
money, I would hope that it stays in Clipwood Beach, that the constituency down there
Yeah,
gets
and
some
we're always looking for improvements over there, but that building's going to come down shortly.
Another thing is the COA, the housing, whatever you want to call it, the apartments. This township needs, and they need to do it this week before all of these applicants come before the boards. We need to pass an ordinance that is strict on the housing, on how many occupants for a one-bedroom, how many occupants for a two-bedroom, how many occupants for a three-bedroom, all right? Even though they're family, if they're male, female, different genders of the kids, these things need to be done now so that we're not having Glenwood rent lofts out as bedrooms, or the new Glenwood, whatever the name of it is. But these things need to be done now, so that these landlords know they can't do it. And we don't have that ordinance with that kind of teeth in it, and we need it now with over 4,000 apartments coming to this town. All right, so that we're not overburdened with kids coming into the school system from 4,000 apartments, where you're not getting the tax dollars that you thought. And my final thing is, Mayor, I think you've got to start being the mayor. You got to tell your legal department to lay off that incident in Foxborough. You were elected to protect the residents of this town, all right? That dog should not be anywhere in this town. There's an ordinance. The ordinance intent was good enough, all right? Our obligation is to the public. And if they, and the obligation, or the onus should have been put on the owner to sue us, not the other way around, or change our ordinance. That dog should never have been allowed back in that neighborhood.
I agree, Dave. The dog left town and it left our jurisdiction. And as soon as we found out it came back in, we took action immediately.
The lady in yellow had her hand up, and then we'll go to, okay, sure, whatever you guys want to, yeah. Hello.
Melissa Lima, Princeton Road. Well, I'm a frequent visitor to these meetings, as you know. You've seen me here before. I've attended at least 10 meetings, and I'm here to try to resolve a matter that's very important. It's the hours at the shelter. Okay, I'm going to do like a little exercise, okay? Sit quietly, okay, for whatever I have left. 4 minutes, okay? Please don't talk, don't look at your phones, don't look at your papers, don't go to the bathroom. Just sit there being totally ignored, okay?
Are you going to speak?
No,
Okay, you're just going
gonna
to
ignore
rest of your
you.
time? That's great, okay.
I think you get the message, right? Try doing that for 16 hours. Because that's how much the animals, the cats, the dogs, are sitting alone 16 hours. Nobody to talk to, nobody to walk them, no one to play with them, no kittens to be fed again. They need to be fed twice a day by Joanne was kind enough to look that up. They're not being taken care of the way they should be. They're left alone in the dark and they're being ignored. They don't know what's happening to them. They don't know what they did to deserve it, but it needs to change. You should really change the hours in the shelter. It's very important. I could have used my 3 minutes, but I didn't, but you get the message. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to be heard?
Patty Belsario, 7 Normandy Place, Colts Neck. First of all, just have one question or statement. People keep talking about volunteers at the shelter, new volunteers. You had a group of over 20 people, 25 people. We had schedules, raised over $20,000 to support the shelter, but yet there's all this talk about new volunteers. Why? Why are we all being pushed out, and why is it accepted that we're being pushed out? It just doesn't make any sense to me. You had a group of qualified people that did a really good job until we started discussing the things we were seeing that weren't working. All of a sudden, we're not welcome anymore. At the last council meeting, I stood up and addressed the mayor and council, and unfortunately, Mr. Henry had the opportunity for his closing statement, and I didn't have the opportunity for a rebuttal. First of all, I do not appreciate being called a liar when I presented actual facts, which will be presented in court during Mrs. Chen's animal cruelty hearing. How dare you question my credibility and my ethics? Do you question my ethics when I worked with various council members and Captain McNamara 5 years ago and raised thousands of dollars to have an Old Bridge animal shelter sign installed on 516 to raise the visibility and bring awareness to the shelter? There was no sign there for years. No one knew what it was. It said kennel. Until I started saying, okay, why? We need to do something here to bring visibility. And everybody, all of a sudden, council people came on board. We had already raised the money. Do something else with the money, and we did. How dare you question my credibility? Did you question my ethics when I worked with various council members? I already said that. Did you question my viability when I was standing on the streets talking to thousands of people collecting funds to help enrich the lives of the animals in your shelter that you ultimately garnish praise for from your constituents and help you with your animal-friendly platform? Did you question my ethics when I hosted baby showers for the kittens or painted the shed, therefore making the shelter seem more hospitable? I dare you, Mr. Mayor, to put me and Mrs. Chan on a lie detector, and the truth will be told. I'll even pay for it. Shame on you for ignoring the pleas of a dedicated group of over 20 volunteers and instead allowing one person to ruin your shelter. I guess your family-friendly platform has fallen to pieces, your animal-friendly platform. How dare you accuse me and the other volunteers of lying? This has never been us against you. You've made it a personal attack, and animals are suffering because of your ego. We as a team of volunteers have brought nothing but pride to this town, and you reap the benefit of your animal-friendly platform. You have brought shame and humiliation. Somehow, shameful how you stood by our side while reaping the benefits of our acclaim and now choose to ignore our pleas. How is it possible that the shelter is down to 2 original volunteers out of a group of 20, and this is not cause of alarm? I gather all 20 of us pushed us out. I gather all of us, 20, are liars, and to fill a new volunteer form and be told that it has to be approved. I was told the same thing, because one day I forgot to sign in, and I was told I was no longer allowed back at the shelter till I sign up with a new application. How is that possible? So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to be heard? That hasn't been heard? Good evening.
Colleen Ronco, Spotswood, New Jersey. I'm also here about the shelter situation. Mine's a little bit different situation. My husband 2 weeks ago went into the shelter to take some pictures of some of the animals that were there. When he walked in, he refused to sign into the shelter. Just so everybody knows, I called the Attorney General's office, Chris Media's office, and I asked him, point blank, do you have to sign into an animal shelter? They said that there is absolutely nothing in the state statute anywhere stating that you have to sign into any public building at any time. I can walk into the library, I don't need to sign in. I can walk into the mayor's office, I don't need to sign in. I can walk into the water department. I don't need to sign in. But for some reason, you have to sign in when you go into the shelter. So my husband refused. So the police were called. So I want to let everybody know now that we have hired an attorney. You will be getting a tort claim for a violation of a First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment right. The mayor was kind enough to come down to see what was going on. He can't go down to see what's going on normally, but he can go down there to make sure that Miss Chen was protected. Protected from what? My husband and his camera? Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. With all of the problems that you have in the shelter, your biggest problem is not my husband walking around with a camera. He's got every right to do it. He's going to do it. He's going to continue to do it. And the more you instigate him, the more he's going to do it, because that's what my husband does. Furthermore, as far as the situation with these people over here with the dog, the mayor was talking about changing an ordinance and making a law. Just so you know, state statute requires that the only person in the state of New Jersey that can put an animal to sleep and order an animal to sleep is a judge. Not put an animal to sleep, but order an animal to sleep. So you can change your laws till the cows come home. A judge has to order that that dog is dangerous and that dog needs to be put to sleep. As far as the kittens not being fed, I'm going to file a complaint tomorrow with the state, so you may want to get Karen on board and let her know that the kittens need to be fed twice a day. Twice a day by 823:A. Shelter law states that they have to be fed in the morning and at night. They are kittens. They will get hypoglycemia. They will die. So you have to feed kittens twice a day. I don't understand what the issue is with the shelter, and I don't know why Karen Chen is still there. It's just amazing to me. Furthermore, as far as the camera situation with my husband, Third Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled that police at any time can be videotaped for any reason. For some reason, I think if the Third Circuit Court of Appeals is saying that a cop can be videotaped at any time, that so can Karen Chen and her animals in the shelter. So we'll be back. You can count on it. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're getting a tort claim, you're being sued. It's going to stop one way or the other. I'm done playing this game with you guys. And the mayor, he needs to go. Shame on all of you.
Anybody else want to be heard from the public? I'll close the public portion. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you deferred or. Okay, sorry about that. I apologize.
Okay, I have a new topic.
Okay.
Nancy Coughlin, Jason Court. I saw on the agenda that you'll be speaking about invasive plant species.
There's a discussion, yeah.
Okay, so can I speak about that now?
Sure.
Okay. So in my backyard, I have a neighbor that backs up to me, and they planted bamboo. So it was a few years back, and I guess the motto for bamboo is sleep, creep, and leap. The first year it does nothing. The second year it just, grows a little, and the third year it takes over. Well, we're past year 3. So I spend at least one Saturday a month with my Sawzall against the fence, cutting down about 6 inches, and then ripping up about 6 to 10 feet of the rhizome that grows into my yard. If I don't do that at least once a month, then my yard will just be taken over. If we get a lot of rain, I'm out there twice a month. So my neighbor to the left of me now has lost 2 trees because of it, because it just grows so tight and it chokes out the roots. And it grows to be about 20 feet tall, so it blocks the sun. So right now I can't plant anything or landscape my own backyard because the way it grows close to the surface, maybe down 4 or 5 inches. So I will have to rip up whatever if I even plant grass, it'll be damaged. So I can't plant any bushes along the fence. I cannot landscape my yard, and I pay quite a bit of money in taxes, and my yard is just bare in the whole back third corner of the yard. So right now I'm looking at 3 choices. I can buy a panda bear to take care of the bamboo that's growing rampant. I can cut it down once or twice a month, every couple of Saturdays, or I can incur the cost of installing metal sheeting around the perimeter of my property, because what you're supposed to do is dig down 2 feet, put in metal sheeting, because that prevents the bamboo from growing into my yard. But it's destroying my fence because it's growing up in between, the chain link fence. And
I know you guys are going to be discussing it, and I'm sure you don't want to dictate what plants can be planted in Old Bridge, because we have so many other rules and everything, but it is truly invasive, and it's killing the rest of the wild, the natural trees that have been there for many years, and I can't plant anything new.
Okay, thank you.
I have plenty of pictures if anybody needs to see them. You're more than, I will welcome you to my home. You can come and see it firsthand, but it's a disaster.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? I will close the public portion. We're going to move on to an appointment. The Zoning Board of Adjustment asks that we move alternate number 2, Virginia Kilduff, to the vacancy of regular member position with a term expiring 12/31/2017. Can I get a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Green. Roll call on the appointment.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes.
We need to take these liquor licenses separately, or can we do them as a group?
No, you should take them separately.
Separately?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the
Yep, okay.
ABC.
Yep, okay. All right, we're going to go on to liquor licenses. LL1, renewing plenary retail consumption license 1209-33-007-007, Benzie Restaurant Incorporated, also known as Benzie of Old Bridge. Everything's in order?
It's fine.
Any questions from the council?
Yes, why it is late?
Some of them didn't have tax clearance, so they had to go for an ad interim permit until they paid their tax clearance. So that's why they're late.
But everything is...
Everything is fine now,
Fine now.
yes. Mm-hmm, yeah. They went, they did what they had to do, cost them extra money, but they're fine now.
Okay.
Any other questions on LL1? No?
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Green. Oh, yep. And a second, please? Second by Dr. Greenberg. Roll call on LL1, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes.
LL2, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-009-003, Red Zebra LLC. Same issue?
Yes.
Ms. Clark? Okay, great. Any questions on LL2? Can I get a motion on LL2, please? I'll move it. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mollis. Roll call on LL2.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes. LL3, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-034-011, Route 18 Liquor LLC. Can I get a motion, please? I'll move it. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Green. Roll call on LL3.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes. Thank you.
L4, renewing plenary retail consumption license number 1209-33-010-011, Wine 34 Incorporated. Can I get a motion, please? Moved by Mr. Green. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call on L4.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green? Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Kale?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes the liquor license. Move on to the discussion. Gary Lavallo et al., I guess, invasive plant species. Mrs. Walker, this is your item. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes, I believe it was last meeting, the meeting before, we had discussed, a resident had written me a letter about bamboo, and I had talked about it, and I had gone to a shade tree meeting about a week ago, and we discussed invasive, we want to call invasive plant species, because it's more than just bamboo. And it is a problem in some homes throughout Old Bridge, and Gary was kind enough to say he would come tonight and talk about it.
Please.
Gary Lavallo, the Conservation Officer, Township Forester. Thanks for having us here. And the invasive plant ordinance, especially with bamboo, we do get several complaints regarding bamboo from all over town. And as of this point, the only thing we can say is that it's a private property issue. We don't have any authority to regulate invasive plants. The state has an invasive plant list, so does Rutgers University, and the USDA Forest Service manages an invasive list, in which what I propose to do is to introduce an ordinance on invasive plants referring to those lists. But the question that remains is, how do you deal with the invasive plants? Bamboo, as the resident spoke of, is a very aggressive plant. And the container that requires for you to plant bamboo and contain it wherever you want it requires a 3-foot wall, 6 foot wide, to be a compound to hold the bamboo in. If anybody's experienced bamboo in the neighborhood or seen it around, you plant it here, it ends up over there. And that's just the way it grows. It's extremely aggressive and almost impossible to kill. For removing or eradicating bamboo, you have to dig the soil out to almost a depth of 3 feet. Replace all of that because those rhizoids go all over the place. So it is an issue. So how are we going to deal with it? There's really no win-win here. You can pass an ordinance that says all bamboo is illegal, which requires you now to go to private property and say you got to remove all your bamboo. That's not really fair. Second thing is you can ban it for being planted in the future or in containers. So if you're going to plant an invasive plant, it must be contained. So if you look at the process of you're going to make the residents mad who have bamboo and say, now you're making me remove this at my expense, or you're going to not satisfy the people who have that issue encroaching on their property. So there's really not a win for either person on that side. So we have to come up with an invasive ordinance that says that from this point forward, these invasive plants are to be contained by specification. And anybody who violates that is subject to penalties that you have across the board that can be used that way. Other invasive plants also do the same thing, but not as aggressive as bamboo. So I didn't want to target one plant. I figured we'd use the Forest Service or the Rutgers University and the state invasive plant list and try to contain it that way. So what's the flavor?
Questions for Mr. Lavallo?
Mr. Lavallo, I have a question. How are you going to enforce the containment issue? I mean, are we going to bring on personnel to, whenever somebody plants something on the invasive list, that they've got to go out and get approval of how they're planting it and how they're containing it? Or, I mean,
the way we work it right now is based on complaints. If the ordinance is passed today,
right,
and someone tomorrow decides to not follow the spec, and there's a complaint that comes in, you can go back there, just like code does now, and say you did not follow the specifications.
Well, I realize that, but I mean, do you have any idea as to the number of complaints that would be, I mean, do you have any idea? Because that's going to impact, our code enforcement is they work nonstop. They're probably overworked. We're understaffed. We're trying to take care of that issue. To bring on another situation where now code enforcement is going to go out and enforce, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I'm just saying,
right,
realistically, what do you anticipate as far as the number of additional employees to enforce this type of situation? Or
well, it's not an epidemic. Let's put it that way. I can probably refer to in the last 3 years about 6 complaints that I had about bamboo, and I know the mayor's office had several complaints too, and we looked at it, and I've answered them in emails that says we just can't do anything about it. So the enforcement issue with the ordinance or with the current ordinance, that can be delegated to the conservation officer the way the tree ordinance is, the same way. We would deal with it and speak to the residents and encourage
so you'd be
complaints.
open to that, the enforcement be through our conservation officer versus
Correct.
code enforcement?
There is a provision in the current ordinance that does that.
Okay.
Mr. Green?
What do you do for this young lady who just spoke? Has an issue with her neighbor whose bamboo was growing up in her property, and
right.
What do you do? What do we do?
From my
legislators?
From my perspective, my position, there's nothing that we can do. There are nuisance ordinances that you have that require somebody to maintain their property without providing a nuisance to the neighbor. It's such as building a retaining wall that now holds water or compounds water. That can be addressed in that respect. I'm not sure about that, And that is something that would go through code, but that's not something that can go through me at this point.
I think somebody should explore it. We can't just walk away from this lady and say, there's nothing we can
It's a
do.
very tough issue. You have bamboo that you've had on your property for however long, and now you're going to be required to pay a substantial amount of money to get it off of there. But it is a property nuisance. It does create a problem. It does change the environment. It does change the ecosystem. It can kill plants, and it takes over the yard. And it's not fair to the residents who didn't plant it, wanted nothing to do with it, to have to deal with it. I have a cousin that's got bamboo on his property, and I sympathize with the resident because he's out there. He actually has his kids out there every week pulling up the rhizoids from the bamboo. It's unstoppable.
That's what this lady's pretty much said herself.
It'll never go away.
All right, now, I think she said there's a sleep period. Suppose somebody go tomorrow,
Yeah.
plants bamboo in the backyard,
Right.
and nobody's aware of it until maybe next year or 2 years from now.
Right.
What do you do in that case? Some person says, well, that's been there for years,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, with the ordinance, we get the ordinance addressed and passed, and then that person has to contain it. In the landscape industry, people who plant bamboo today are told by professional landscapers that you have to contain it. They're advised of that. It's a little expensive, but they're responsible enough to advise the residents or their clients that you have to contain the bamboo, otherwise it's going to continue to spread. And I don't want to keep saying bamboo, but there are other invasive plants that do the same thing.
And the resident could say, hey, nobody told me. I just went in and bought it.
That's the same thing they do
It was
today.
on sale, I bought it.
You need permits for certain things. People say, I didn't know.
Yeah,
And of course, the typical answer is ignorance is no excuse for the law. Well, you gotta know these things. And if you don't,
Obviously, something has to be done.
yes. We agree.
Greenberg? Sorry.
I think a lot of people get plants in certain species and don't understand the ramifications, what's going to happen to some of these invasive plants. But I think you have to be good neighbors, and when you're destroying someone's property and killing trees, I have pictures, Ms. Coughlin gave me pictures of her neighbor's trees that are dying. She gave me pictures of how her fence is being destroyed. I think really, just it is a nuisance complaint that could be addressed through that. And I think that the person that planted the bamboo, it's taking over their yard also, and they would probably like some information about it, how to resolve the problem. And maybe they just financially didn't look into it, or they just ignored it and it got out of hand, and so they let it go. But I think it really, you have to be a good neighbor. You can't be destroying people's property. So I think we have to do something, and even if it was there, I think we have to give them choices that what they have to do. And putting in metal sheets 3 feet down, although there's a cost involved, there's a cost involved for the person who's losing their fence and destroying their yard.
Yes.
So I hope that we come to a conclusion and do pass an ordinance to stop this.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea to know the flavor that you'd like me to pursue, because I can draft the ordinance, turn it to council for review and critique and do it that way. But I want to make sure that the ordinance we write is what you're considering.
So you'd like an idea if we would like to just grandfather the people in that already have it or moving forward?
Yes.
The containment.
Yes.
I guess we could go down maybe and see what everybody feels.
Well, I think people should comment first. And then we
Yeah.
can-
I don't think
I'm-
grandfathering works. People are struggling with a problem right now that should be taken care of. I think it should be some kind of an ordinance that takes care of the whole thing. What's there now and what may occur by a homeowner who wants to
Okay.
plant.
Well, I see it a little bit differently, to be honest with you. I mean, if somebody's got it on their property, I don't see the township going in and penalizing that person, quite frankly. I have a real problem with that. I mean, there wasn't any intent, if you will, so I don't think it's the township's, I don't think the township should be going on somebody's property, fining them or making them move that stuff. Now, you talked about a nuisance, Gary, and that's true. If somebody's causing a nuisance to another property owner, there's ordinances right now, we can care for that, right?
Right.
I'm very concerned when we start dictating to people what they can and can't put in their own personal property. That gives me really some real agita. You know, when we start dictating, you know, you can do this, but you can't do that kind of thing. I mean, an awareness campaign, you know, making sure people understand, hey, you're planting this, and this is what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people plant it because, oh, it looks cool, and I like the way it looks. They have no idea how evasive it is, and I've seen it, and I know what you're talking about. I get concerned that we're gonna overregulate this. I really get concerned dictating to people what they can and can't put on their own personal property.
All right. Yeah,
That's-
that is a fine line, but when you plant something that will affect your neighbors, that's where you need to stop
Totally
that.
understand. And then, to your point, the nuisance ordinance comes into play, and if
Right.
somebody's doing something that creeps into your property, you have every right to complain to the township and say, hey, by the way, this person's creating a nuisance on my personal property now, right? I mean,
Yep.
So, those are my 2 cents, but, Mrs. Dungy, or? Oh,
I wasn't done either.
Sorry, I thought you guys were done. Apologize. Go ahead, Mrs. Walker, I'm sorry.
No, I feel sorry for what she's going through right now, because I think if that were me and that was happening to me, I would be upset. I wouldn't want to have to put a lot of money out for something I didn't do. And I don't know if she has any recourse with the current laws that we have in place now, but like you say, it could be other things besides bamboo, but you should be good neighbors. And I feel that the people that are her neighbors that did this, they should be responsible. She shouldn't have to spend every weekend cutting bamboo down, and it's destroying her property. I just don't think it's right.
I can see your point.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think Mr. Green was done, and Mrs.
Oh.
Walker, you done?
If you feel this can be taken care of under nuisance ordinances, well, that's good.
Yes.
But, you know, do something about it, but we can't just, like I said before, walk out of here and not address this woman's problem. I mean, to be going out every weekend or every other weekend, cutting this stuff down, and it's really an infringement on her quality of life.
It is a burden.
Yeah.
No
it's
doubt.
A big burden. And, you know, look, I don't think we should dictate what a homeowner should do or not do, but in cases where it infringes on somebody else, like the dog, you know, the dog presented a safety issue that should have been corrected, taken away, right away.
Yep.
Something should be done in
I
this.
I could talk to council and we could work it out, but I kind of think the nuisance provision will work just fine.
If that can be instituted.
Yeah.
If we can have code enforcement or whoever it is, go out there and correct this, you know, and.
Yes.
I'm satisfied with that, you know.
Okay.
At least, I think maybe this lady would be satisfied too.
Well, I'll make sure I reach out to code and see what their opinion is and work on that.
All right, good.
You guys both done because Mr. Rosencrantz wants to speak.
Just 2 questions. Why would anybody want to plant that type of plant in their backyard if they know that it's so evasive?
Maybe they don't.
Invasive.
It is to their advantage because you'll plant one sprig and you'll get 1,000 without any cost. And it provides a barrier. It is a buffer, it's a barrier, it's a screen that's all year long. And people that do not want to see a stream, a gully, their neighbor, they'll plant it just for that buffer.
And there's no product, chemical that could kill it from the top down through the root system?
There is, but it's extremely toxic and cannot be used with other than a registered pesticide applicator. It is extremely difficult to kill because of the rhizoids. It's a root system and then a shoot. A root continues and grows, so when you can't kill the
A string of
entire root
lights.
system.
Like a string of lights?
That's right. It's like a string of lights, exactly. It's very difficult to kill, and there's very little herbicide that can do it.
Anybody else? Mrs. Solar?
Yeah, I also think it's very difficult when you live next to someone like that. I was trying to imagine if I did and how frustrated you would be. So I do think as a township, we have to take that into consideration and we have to do something that's going to alleviate some of this problem, definitely. I have home associations that have come to me with the same complaints that neighbors have done this and now the whole front of their development is being taken over by this, so we can't stay like this. We have to do something.
There's a few townships that have specific bamboo ordinances. I've given a couple. I've made some copies of some sample ordinances, but now that I have a good idea of what direction we want to go in, I'll work with council to get it tuned and present it.
And code enforcement.
And code, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Thank you.
Any other comments from Mr. LaValle?
Yeah, real.
Thank you so much for having us. Sorry you had to stay so long.
Well, it's all right, because the second thing I just wanted to mention is that there were some questions regarding the current tree ordinance, and I wanted the Shade Tree Commission, the diehards, stuck it out, and to answer any questions they may have, because I know I've gotten a few questions on some of the ordinances and how it's a burden to residents, and it really isn't. It's just a miscommunication, and I wanted the Shade Tree Commission to be here in case you had a question or a concern that came from a resident. We can answer those right now if you have that.
Why can't you do a tree permit online?
You can fill that out online.
But you can download the
application.
form.
Yes.
But you can't do it through eGov. Like, so, you can get a lot of different permits online. You can
Right.
but you can't do a tree permit. Like, so all you need really is a check, so a payment. You need the application filled out.
Right.
And you need, a print of your property. You could do that in a PDF form.
Right.
I'm just not sure why,
That does come to me through a PDF form. We do get those permits that way.
Right, but as a resident, you have to download the form, walk it into engineering versus
Yeah.
doing it online. I'm just curious why.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if the engineering department can take e-payments.
Yeah?
You need the mic, nobody can hear you.
We did start with eGov, building a prototype for accepting tree permit applications. But I'm not sure if we're continuing with their, how about you? Are we continuing with eGov? I don't think so, right? Oh, okay. All right, we built a prototype, but there was some issues that we sort of came up across, especially with the contractors. We have to check to make sure that the contractor is registered in the state of New Jersey.
Sure. Mhm.
That running list changes daily. So it's almost like there has to be some sort of dialogue with us to basically ensure that the person or the contractor that the resident is using is registered in the state of New Jersey. But we are building that prototype.
Okay. I mean, that could really, literally be a drop-down, right? If you had the list of all the registered, it'd just be a drop-down, you click on the guy, boom.
Right, but because they all change, because their expiration dates aren't all
Yeah.
like at the end of the
I hear
year.
you, yeah.
So it's like month to month, that list is constantly changing.
And on top of that, there's a law that was signed by the acting governor in 2010, but the rules were promulgated in April 2017, which requires any person providing tree care services for hire in the state of New Jersey now has to register with the Board of Tree Experts. So that state now is going to take over the registration of all the contractors, and then we're going to end up referring to their list from this point forward.
Yeah, I've spoken to you once or three times, I think, with a
Yeah.
resident and a large tree that they had to remove. And the experience wasn't that great. One was an elderly gentleman who the tree was too close to the house.
Yes.
And I know you resolved that. You resolved all three issues.
Okay.
But the fact that the residents who wanted to, use their backyard when somebody before them planted a dozen trees and it makes their backyard unusable and they have to cut it down and they went through a little hardship. I'd like to see the residents not go through that hardship when they want to use their property in a way that they want to use their property for recreation without having a tree next to a pool or next to a house or leaves falling in or something, or just plain grass in the backyard.
Sure. The hardships that they experienced was the process of getting to the Shade Tree Commission to get their hardship approved and waived. So the majority of people that have a hardship, we by ordinance deny that heritage tree removal. They come to the Shade Tree Commission, they state their case, and almost every person that's come with the hardship has gotten the waiver from that. So the only hardship they experienced is either writing a letter or coming to the Shade Tree Commission meeting, because those three that we talked about were resolved, but it was just a process to get there. So we take it on a case-by-case basis.
I understand that. I appreciate that. Just to let you know how frustrated they were
Yes.
at that time.
It happens.
Anybody else? Dr. Weinberg?
I just think people, when they say, they get a tree permit, and then, because several residents have complained to me, thinking how much they were gonna have to pay to take down this tree, but they don't read the ordinance and don't understand. And I had you speak to several residents, and their problems were resolved, and I got follow-up calls that they were very satisfied. So I thank you for reaching out to them also. And
Sure.
I think if they understand it, that it's not, it's based on the percentage more than per tray.
Yes, absolutely. We're doing around 40 permits a month. And of all those 40 permits, there was only 2 people from January 2017 to now that paid $240. Only 2 out of all of that. So we don't want the perception to be out there that it's bad. We are working with the residents, and we are working, especially with the hardship cases.
Any other comments? Thank you, appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Thanks. Thanks for being there so late. Okay, we're going to go into executive session, and we are going to return to vote. So, Mr. Lazier?
Yep.
Take a 5-minute break.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Old Bridge that the public shall be excluded from this meeting pursuant to NJSA 10:4-13 for the discussion of township personnel matters. They shall reconvene in public session, and the minutes of the other record of the discussion shall be available to be disclosed to the public as soon as the need for it to be disclosed from the public no longer exists as determined by the vote of the governing body at a public session. Motion?
Need a motion to go in executive session? Move it. Moved by Mr. Green, I need a second. Second by Mrs. Dungy. Roll call to go in executive session. We need to clear the chambers, please.
Mrs. Dungy? Yes. Dr. Greenberg? Mr. Green? Yes. Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Off
Off
dais.
dais.
Sohar? Mrs. Sohar? Yes. Mrs. Walker? Yes. President Cahill?
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay, we are in executive session. We need the courtroom cleared. We are back in public session. We have to vote on 2 ordinances? Resolutions, sorry. The first one is is a resolution of the FOP captains MCA synopsis. Can I have a motion, please?
Move it.
Moved by Mr. Green. I have a second. I'll second it. Roll call, please, on the FOP synopsis.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
I need a motion on the Teamsters Professional MOA synopsis. Moved by Mr. Green. I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Mollis?
Yes.
Mr. Rosencrantz?
Yes.
Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
President Cahill?
Yes.
8 yes.
Councilmember comments before we adjourn?
I have
Dr.
one.
Greenberg.
Yes, I've had residents come forward and ask me, how do they get a TNR application to register to have a colony and do the trap, neuter, release? And we said there was going to be a form. Did it go on television yet? Do we do any publications for this?
I believe, Dr. Greenberg, we had a form that was given out at that meeting. Lieutenant gave a form out. I'll have to check with him where they are with that. I believe we were reaching out to some organizations who wanted to lead the charge on the TNR. I'll find out. We've been a little busy.
I've had several residents go to the shelter asking for the form to fill it out. And, because I told them there's a form that they have to register first. And they've gone, and actually the shelter had no idea about it. And so I don't know where to direct them. So if you could tell me just
Okay,
where to direct them.
I'll get a status report on that. What was I going to say?
Yeah, we'll get Scott to report on that.
Yeah,
But I
but
think
then we had the attorney also reviewing the ordinance. He was going to come back. We haven't heard back yet from the attorney that's on the committee. He was going to review that and get us some comments. I have not seen that yet. I neglected to see him tonight before he left.
Okay, just because
I know.
we voted on this in March. It's like now
Yeah,
middle of
and
summer.
council,
we wanna
despite
get
a lot of comments that are made here, we're working hard.
No,
And the
I'm
last
not
couple
saying
of people that came up to the microphone stated the case. You just can't walk in any township building and do what you want to do and have access to where you want to go, where there are animals, where there are medications. You can't do it. We have to run some type of process, some kind of policy. And I think they're stating the case on why we've taken control of the shelter. We have to have control of it. There's too much, we're exposed to too much liability. Should someone just walk off the street and walk into where these animals are, they could do harm to the animals. They could do harm to themselves, and yet we have no record they were there? Come on. I mean, and people come to that shelter with not really some good intentions sometimes.
Security is a big issue, definitely.
And that's a problem.
And this individual.
We've asked people to be accountable, be responsible for their actions, and they refuse to. I don't have to sign in. Why should I have to sign?
Right.
Well, you know, we have a volunteer policy handbook, and if you're not going to sign off on it,
Yeah.
you're not going to be a volunteer. Volunteers, we have a list we go through. We do a very thorough background check. I think 2 or 3 people have been denied because of background checks. Now, we're not going to go, advertise that in public why you were denied. We wouldn't need to bring up people's past by why they should not have access to animals. But yet they come here, oh, you denied me access. Well, there's a reason why you're being denied access. Not because we don't like you, not because we don't want you to. We'll take volunteers. We're not trying to push any volunteer out. No volunteer has ever been fired. Volunteers resign and say, oh, and they want to come back. No, that's not firing a volunteer. They resigned. They took their ball and went home. You can't run any type of department or agency in the town without some type of rules. You have to have rules, and everybody has to follow them. We've had accidents where people didn't want to follow rules, and they still continue not to want to follow rules. And we're not trying to be tough guys. We're just trying to run a shelter, and we are very successful. The animals are well taken care of. I challenge anyone to go down there any time of day and see an animal that's in distress, to see an animal that is not being well cared for. When I met with you a few weeks ago about having additional technicians available at the shelter to take care of the animals when it's not open to the public. We have no intentions. We're not recommending that the shelter be open to the public more hours, but that doesn't mean there's not people there. We can't have volunteers when it's not open, but there's going to be people there before and after hours to tend to the animals. We've passed every inspection. We meet and exceed every restriction or requirement put on by the state. So it's difficult to sit here and then, and hear all these people come complaining about that, and the animals aren't complaining. They're being well taken care of. And we've been successful with
that individual.
I think Dr. Greenberg still has the floor, so.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go on.
No, I appreciate your comments. I just didn't know when people asked me for the TNR forms, where to direct them. So, if you let me know that.
I'll get that
you know,
information.
And we just want the animals taken care of.
And they are.
The shelter to run properly. If people left for whatever reason and they were volunteers, but they were in good standing, they should be able to come back also.
Yes,
The
and
volunteer,
we have
as
not
you-
denied a volunteer. Unless we had a just cause.
Because, as I've said before, you cannot run the shelter without
You
volunteers.
just can't
They
show
do
up and
positive.
say, I'm here. You have to have some kind of sense of order, and the rules have to be followed.
I think there's one thing on the TNR. I think there's Alley Cat was supposed to, I think that's in the ordinance, something about, and I'm just trying to remember, because I was on vacation the day you had meeting, but I believe that Scott told me that he has reached out to Alley Cat several times because they are the lead on
To provide the
And
training.
I don't know how that got integrated into the ordinance, because that was an ordinance that I presented of Alley Cat Alleys before. Alley Cat Alleys just provides advice and materials for us
Right.
to use.
That's very
But they're
important,
not
though.
overseeing, we use the Carney ordinance. So I don't know how that remained in there. They're not overseeing it.
But that's in-
Actually,
that's in
actually,
the
there's the
ordinance.
committee oversees. That's what I explained when we were up here that night. I said the committee that, oversees the TNR program. You can't have an outside agency that's in a different, state. It's a national organization. They provide tools and information and support, and they will help in everything we can. But that's what I tried to explain, that the committee oversees it, and we reach out to these rescue groups that help, but they have to contact us. And so that's why I explained that at our TNR meeting to the lieutenant, and he totally understood it at that time.
Okay.
We'll get, I'll get a status report
Okay, thank you.
on everything.
Someone,
Council comments, Mr. Green?
yeah, someone who files for, they want to establish a colony in their, on their property, does the next door neighbor have anything to say about it? Is there any kind of communication to the next door neighbors?
Yeah,
That-
we put that in the ordinance.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
wanted
they
to
can't
make sure.
become a nuisance. You have to have permission of the property owner where you're going to establish that colony. If it's your own property where you're going to establish it, there's probably have to be some criteria. I don't know what that is right now, Mr. Green. If you want to have it on your property.
I don't want to have it, but if my neighbor wants to have it, I'd have an issue.
Yeah, we put it in a radius, I forget,
Yeah.
offhand, I forget what the radius is, but there's a notification
All right, I'm
radius.
sorry I missed the meeting, but I just wanted to understand that. The other thing is that fellow who, with the camera, that's his stick. He does this all over the state. He goes in and
Mr. Green,
he,
we're on video right now, too, so.
it's the truth. He goes in, he's an instigator, and he winds up suing townships for money. That's his game.
They're well-known all over
Yeah,
the state
well,
of New
that's
Jersey.
right. So, whatever it's worth.
Any other council comments? Mrs. Sohar?
Yeah, just one thing. For the future, should something like this happen again with an animal, if we could open a line of communication and let us know, because I think people really thought maybe we knew about this and we were heartless, that we didn't make any comments or reach out to them. And it's just, I just feel very badly because knowing about it now tonight makes a difference. I really didn't want the public to think we were aware and did nothing. So please, in the future, just let us know if something like this happens. Thank you.
I'll take the hit, I guess, for that. Being extremely upset about the incident. I found out about it a few days later also, and took direct control, tried to. Obviously, it was a no-win situation by the time I found out about it. There were some accusations made, and I tried to, get those questions answered. I just, if we call the council, give me some type of criteria where you want me to contact you. I don't know if this met the level of, if it did, then I'll take the heat for not calling you. But we, there's a lot going on, a lot going on. And in the future, if we have, hopefully, I'll never have to go through this again, that's for sure. But I will contact the council and use more, as I say, a little bit more discretion when certain things, Old Bridge is a big town, we are not exempt from on a daily basis some not so nice things happening. And I guess we try to keep it, we're in the process of fixing it as opposed to getting out there, and some things we can't talk about when they happen. And they've been, the lack of me putting out information has helped, I think, in the last month or two, come to a good resolve on a very unfortunate incident that took place in town where we were not allowed to release any details of the heinous event that took place. So, but I'll pledge to get it out to the council. If something like this, hopefully, will never happen again. But I will be coming before the council for an ordinance, perhaps amendment. Legal will draft something, take some verbiage out of our existing ordinance that would prevent one of the one of the events that allowed this dog to come back into town. So we'll make sure that can't happen again.
Okay.
I think that's important to understand, that the dog was, under the current statute, the owner has a right to say where the dog is impounded
We're supposed to be
during
talking
that.
about this? Yeah, okay.
So that's the change that we want to make, where we take control of that under such circumstances.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes, I just hope in the future that the council is notified about some more events that are happening in town, because it seems like in the last few months, I don't know, for whatever reason, there's been no communication to the council at all on events, and that never used to be the case. I don't know why, but it really has to change.
Councilwoman Walker, sometimes it's impossible to get the information out because we're told not to. I believe the last time I communicated to the council was when we had a shooting on Route 9. I believe we had a school go into lockdown. There was a lot going on, and I couldn't. They just wouldn't. And the event in Glenwood, we were not allowed. we're just told to, keep quiet, don't say anything about any of the details or that it even happened. And because of that, arrests and people were charged because of the information was not made public. So sometimes it's difficult, but we will, I'll make a note, Amancho will make a note to, we'll evaluate the information and we'll try to get it out there.
Any other comments? Mrs. Dungy?
Yeah, I hear you, Mr. Mayor, and I don't know, how it can be resolved, but there was an incident in my ward. Someone killed himself, and one of my constituents asked me about it. I was completely clueless, and I felt, kind of.
Well, the policy has been we will never talk about suicide. We will never put any information about that. If anyone takes their life, that won't be released.
Okay.
Out of respect for the families.
All right, okay. But it felt, I was in a position where I didn't know what to say. That's all I was saying.
Penny, am I getting myself in trouble?
Well, no,
No, I'm
but
just saying-
understand there are state statutes and there's AG guidelines that when you have situations that are, when dealing with, crimes, suicides, anything like that, notification has to go to, certain people before anything is released. And so, unfortunately, the mayor is not permitted to, he's brought up to speed by the chief of police, but beyond that, no information is permitted to go out. And, so, that's just the way it is. He's not permitted to relay that type of information to you folks or really to anybody. The police department does that when they have completed whatever they have to according to the AG guidelines. The dog bite's a different issue, but when you're talking about suicides and other criminal offenses, he's not permitted to release that to council or to anyone else. The chief of police has to do that.
That's what I meant to say.
Any other comments before we adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Rosencrantz, second by Mr. Green. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Dungy?
Yes.
Dr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Green? Mr. Mollis? Yes. Mr. Rosencrantz? Mrs. Sohar?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker? President Kale?
Yes.
8 yes.
We are adjourned.